My beloved child, I need you to hear this now. Don't delay another second, because while you were caught in your storms of uncertainty, lost in the loop of overthinking and battling voices that tried to redefine your worth, I was right beside you, unmoving, unblinking, unwavering, watching every shake of your spirit, every stumble of your faith, every pause where you questioned if I was still near. I saw you hesitate at the crossroads of surrender, whispering questions into the night like, "Is this still for me?" As he changed his mind. "Am I too late?" But let me break the silence with thunder. You're not too late, but you are dangerously close to missing what I've placed before you. If you keep looking away, I've been waiting for the moment your heart would finally look up, not with fear, not with guilt, but with raw honesty, saying, "I can't do this without you." That's all I've needed. Not perfection, not performance, just a turned face, just one glance that says, "Jesus, I'm ready to try again." And do you know why I waited this long? Not because I doubted you, but because I knew the moment your eyes found mine again, everything around you would shift. The enemy tried to make you believe I walked away. He whispered lies that made you numb, distracted, were restless, but I never flinched from your side. I stood through your silence, your questions, your rebellion, your disappointment, even when you pushed me away. My presence never decreased, your awareness did. But that's changing now, because this message was timed by heaven. This moment was marked long before you got tired, long before you doubted, long before the heaviness settled in. I've been waiting not because I had nothing better to do, but because you were worth the wait. I watched you avoid my presence because you thought you had to fix yourself first. I watched you try to earn what I already called yours. And still, I waited. I waited through the heartbreak. I waited through the confusion. I waited when you almost gave up. Because I knew the moment your attention turned fully toward me, the chains would start cracking, and they are cracking now. Your hesitation was the very thing keeping you from the clarity you begged for. You kept asking me for answers, but I was already standing in your room, whispering, "I am the answer." You don't need more signs, more confirmations, more prophecies. You need to stop looking sideways and start looking up. I've been holding the door open for you, child, but you've been too distracted by fear to walk through it. But guess what? Fear isn't your God. Confusion isn't your guide. Regret isn't your companion anymore. I am. And I'm telling you right now, don't delay. This is your moment. What I'm about to reveal to you doesn't require a perfect track record. It requires a willing heart. The moment you fix your gaze back on me fully, recklessly, with nothing held back, everything will begin to realign. That ache in your soul, that weight in your chest, that pressure to keep pretending you're okay, it lifts the second you realize I've been beside you the whole time, carrying the parts of you you didn't know how to bring to me. You weren't disqualified, you were distracted. You weren't abandoned, you were overwhelmed. And now, I'm calling you out of that fog. This is not a suggestion. This is a divine alert. You must look up. You must break the rhythm of delay, because what's been circling your life is about to land. And if you don't turn your face toward me now, you'll miss the moment it arrives. I'm not saying this to scare you, I'm saying it because I love you too much to stay silent while heaven is screaming your name. Don't skip this message. Don't scroll past my voice. Don't let hesitation steal what I've waited hours, days, even years to place in your hands. Look at me now and don't look away. This is where everything begins. This is where we continue. Keep your heart open, I have more to say. And now that you've looked my way, something has shifted in the unseen, a movement so profound even angels paused their songs. Heaven has held its breath, waiting not because of uncertainty but because of reverence. The hour you are in is not casual. This moment was carved out of eternity, etched into your timeline before you ever knew how deeply I would pursue you. I marked it with fire. I covered it with grace. And I said to the heavenly hosts, watch what happens when my beloved child finally steps into what I've been holding back for such a time as this. This isn't just another day. This is the appointed time where sacred intersections meet. Your obedience, your ache, your worship, your waiting all colliding with my perfect release. Don't let the silence fool you. There has been movement behind the veil. You couldn't see it, but the heavens were counting down. Not to scare you, not to pressure you, but to announce that this is the divine hour of unveiling. You've been walking through what looked like stillness, but I was organizing the supernatural orchestration of details far too delicate for your eyes to trace. This isn't just a season, it's an unlocking. You've arrived at the threshold of something consecrated. Not everyone gets here, not because I am unfair, but because few remain when the wait grows long. But yes, you stayed. You stumbled, you questioned, you felt the sting of silence, but you didn't abandon your post. And for that, all of heaven has leaned in. The angels assigned to your life were not standing still, they were waiting for my cue. And child, I just gave it. The trumpet hasn't sounded in the sky, but in the spirit realm. Something has been released that will cause a ripple through every layer of your life. You won't even know what changed first, only that the resistance is breaking and the air around you feels different. There's something holy about a soul that keeps trusting when it has every reason to turn back. That's why this hour is not just sacred, it's set apart. The heavens know it. The darkness fears it. Creation responds to it. You are stepping into the fulfillment of what others said was delaying, but I'm telling you it was preserved. There is a difference. I never denied you. I was protecting you from arriving too soon and collapsing under the weight of a promise not yet rooted in preparation. But today, as this message finds you, I want you to understand this. You are standing in the middle of my yes. I'm not just calling you to walk into it, I'm commanding all that's been aligned for you to rise and meet your steps. Every second you thought I was silent, I was actually writing instructions into time. I was programming divine collisions into your future. And now, that future is pressing into your present. You can't afford to treat this moment casually. You must lean in. Listen with your spirit. Respond with your heart. Because this is not an echo from yesterday, it's a surge from eternity. This sacred hour is not just for breakthrough, it's for birthing. The contractions of delay are giving way to delivery. What once felt heavy will now feel holy. You will look back and say, this is where it changed. This is the moment I felt something eternal breathing into my bones. Don't second guess it. Don't minimize it. Heaven has not waited hours for you to shrug off what's sacred. There's a fire around this word and a mantle in it, and if you dare to take it seriously, you will see the impossible yield. You didn't miss your moment, you just entered it. And it doesn't look like a parade. It looks like clarity. It looks like peace where there was torment. It looks like sudden strength where there was weakness. It looks like the right person calling you at the right time. It looks like a supernatural yes to something you never applied for. It looks like only I could orchestrate. So when you feel that holy pressure in your spirit, that stirring in your chest, know that it's not anxiety, it's alignment. I'm bringing your soul into rhythm with something I prepared long before the battle ever began. Let the world rest. Let the doubters doubt. Let the shadows whisper. But you stay close. You stay focused. You stay present. This is the hour heaven marked for you, and I will not let it pass without pouring out what I've promised. Keep listening. I have more to say. You need to hear this before another doubt creeps in. What you called delay was never my disapproval. I didn't withhold answers because I was disappointed in you. I didn't make you wait because I forgot. I wasn't punishing you for not being enough. No, child. I was shielding you. Every slow moment, every unanswered prayer, every roadblock you thought meant rejection was actually a layer of divine covering, an invisible hand keeping you from walking into something too early, too fragile, or too broken to sustain what I promised. You wanted the door to open fast, but I saw what was behind it. I saw the counterfeit hidden behind glitter. I saw the weight you weren't ready to carry. I saw the hands that looked kind but carried selfish motives. And so I intervened in silence. You called it delay, I call it divine interception. I stopped what you would have said yes to, so you could arrive at the real yes that doesn't harm you, drain you, or deter you. You kept asking, why not now? And I kept answering in ways you didn't see, by halting what looked exciting but wasn't eternal, by dismantling the connections you tried to force, by letting the silence stretch long enough for you to finally stop striving and start listening. I wasn't absent in the stillness, I was loud in restraint. I didn't rush, because I love you too much to let you sprint toward something that would poison your soul slowly. Do you really think I would allow you to step into something I didn't build, just to watch it collapse in your hands? Oh, beloved, I delayed what was dangerous. I held back what looked like a blessing but hid a trap. I slowed the process so your discernment could sharpen, so your dependence could deepen, so your motives could be purified. It wasn't about punishing your impatience. It was about protecting your purpose. And now, as the fog clears, you're starting to understand. You're beginning to see how what didn't happen was mercy in disguise. That relationship that never progressed, that would have broken you. That opportunity that suddenly vanished. It wasn't built on truth. That answer you thought was overdue. It was waiting for the moment your heart would no longer try to control the outcome. The pause was a place of preparation. I didn't let the storm pass without reason. I let it linger so you'd learn how to walk on water instead of begging for dry land. And now, because you didn't quit when it got quiet, I'm about to flood your life with clarity that no man can block. Child, listen closely, this is the season where delay gives birth to destiny. The curtain is lifting. What I preserved through postponement is about to pour into your life. And you'll no longer see waiting as a wound, you'll see it as a womb. A place where I carried you while your faith was being formed. Where I surrounded you while your strength was being rebuilt. Where I nurtured your unseen battles until they became visible breakthroughs. This is why I kept you hidden. This is why I slowed the pace. You were never behind, you were in divine incubation. And now, the alarm in heaven is going off, signaling it's time for emergence. Don't carry shame from the slowness. Don't believe the lie that others passed you by. You're not being left at, you're being led at. Out of confusion. Out of premature places. Out of fragile foundations. I'm leading you into timing so perfect that even the enemy won't be able to twist it into guilt. Us coming to you doesn't mean to be chased, it will mean you because it was designed for you. And when it does, you will know this was worth every moment. I thought God forgot me. But I never forgot. I was guarding. I was arranging. I was carving paths through obstacles you didn't even know were coming. Now, don't look back at what stalled and mourn it. Look forward to what's being released and honor it. Your spirit can feel the turn. I placed the tension there to tell you the hold is breaking. To walk with confidence. Speak with authority. Receive with peace. This is not a delayed reward, it's a delivered promise, matured in silence and arriving in full strength. Keep listening. What I've begun to whisper is only the beginning. There's more. Stay ready. You didn't know I was counting them, did you? Those moments when your face was pressed into a pillow, when the world never noticed the breaking, but I felt every silent sob pulse through heaven. You cried when no one checked in. You broke when others expected you to be strong. You smiled through pain because you didn't want to burden anyone else. And yet I was there. Not just as a distant observer, but as the one catching every single tear before it ever hit the ground. Not one fell in vain. Each drop became something sacred in my hands, evidence of what you endured, proof of what you overcame, and yes, seed for what is coming. You thought it was grief. You thought it was exhaustion. But I called it investment. You weren't falling apart, you were pouring into a field you couldn't see yet. Every whispered-wide God didn't float into nothingness, it pierced the skies. Every I can't keep doing, this wasn't weakness, it was worship. You didn't realize it, but those hidden cries became your offering. Not the polished ones, not the composed prayers, I'm talking about the shattered sounds that no one applauded, the nights your voice broke under the weight of pretending to be okay. That was worship to me. That was faith not in words but in wounds. And I honored it, not with a pat on the back, but with the planting of promises so deep that they had to be hidden until the soil of your life was ready to bloom. The pain didn't kill your future, it fertilized it. The loneliness didn't break your calling, it softened your roots so they could go deeper. You weren't being emptied to be abandoned. You were being emptied so I could fill you with something that won't run dry. My child, this next season you're entering isn't random, it's the harvest of every moment you thought was unnoticed. You see, heaven doesn't need a spotlight to validate what is sacred. I didn't need applause to confirm your endurance. I saw the invisible labor. I saw when you held back bitterness just to stay pure. I saw when you forgave quietly, when you sacrificed without recognition, when you carried burdens no one thanked you for. And I took every act of surrender, every cry, every aching pause, every sigh you released in the dark, and I wove them into your testimony. You were sowing when you didn't know it. You were watering the promise even when you thought nothing was growing. And now, listen carefully, what's rising in your life is not a coincidence. It is the result of divine memory. I remember what others forget. I reward what others ignore. I release what others try to block. You are about to walk into a season where your tears speak louder than your words, where the hidden chapters are going to become the headline of your breakthrough. What you thought was over is sprouting beneath the surface. What looked like decay was simply the barrel of a seed I was protecting from public exposure until the time was right. And child, the time is right now. Not tomorrow. Not next year. This moment. This window. This atmosphere, it's been charged by the cries that left your mouth months ago. You forgot them. I didn't. So don't be surprised when blessings start arriving in areas where you had nothing left to give. That's how my grace works. I turn the emptied into evidence. I take the pain and I press it into purpose so undeniable that not even your past can compete. And when people ask how it happened, you won't have a strategy to explain, you'll just know. God kept count. He remembered. He repaid. He released. And now, the harvest is showing up where you thought all hope had withered. You may not have sown with celebration, but you're going to reap with joy. This is a holy reversal, a supernatural returning. And as it starts to come into view, don't downplay it. Don't shrink. Don't apologize for finally receiving. You paid for this in tears. You waited for this in silence. You trusted me when everything said walk away. So when the blessings begin to bloom, don't forget where we started. And don't stop now. Keep your heart open, I still have more to say. You were never muted, even when you felt voiceless. The silence that wrapped around your season wasn't evidence that you were defeated, it was proof that I was preparing something powerful within you that noise couldn't grow. You wondered why I didn't let your words echo louder, why the prayers didn't shake the earth like they once did, why your declarations seemed to vanish into the air with no return. But beloved, hear me clearly, the enemy thought he could suffocate your spirit, but I was strengthening your breath beneath the surface. While you questioned whether your prayers still mattered, I was fortifying the very place your voice comes from. Not your throat, not your feelings, but the deep well of your spirit that knows me even when your emotions don't. The silence was a disguise. It masked the training ground of your roar. You weren't being silenced, you were being stored. I let the volume turn low in your life because the volume of your authority was being recalibrated. When the enemy tried to convince you that no one was listening, he didn't realize I was rerouting your cry into a reservoir of unstoppable strength. That whisper in the dark, it wasn't wasted. That breathless cry you uttered when you were too tired to speak, it wasn't weak. I captured them all and turned them into thunder. You see, child, what the enemy fears most is not your voice in the crowd, it's your voice after the crushing. Your voice after the silence. Your voice after the grave season tries to swallow you whole and you rise up anyway. He tried to close your mouth by filling it with fear. He thought if he sent enough discouragement, if he used people close to you to devalue your worth, if he let your prayers go seemingly unanswered, you would eventually go quiet. What you didn't. You whispered when you couldn't shout. You groaned when you couldn't speak. You stayed in my presence even when you felt invisible in the world. And that is where I began to strengthen your breath, not the kind that fills lungs, but the kind that carries anointed sound. The kind that, when released, breaks through layers of darkness with one sentence. The kind that makes demons flee because it doesn't come from ego, it comes from endurance. It's born in surrender. It's soaked in trust. It's not flashy, but it's fatal to the lies the enemy has been telling you. And now, child, you are moments away from hearing yourself again. Not the old version. Not the tired echo. I'm talking about the voice I placed in you before the world bruised your confidence. A voice that carries weight. A voice that shakes walls. A voice that knows its authority in me. The voice that isn't loud because it needs to be heard, it's loud because it carries heaven's permission. That's what the enemy couldn't stop. He delayed the volume, but he couldn't delete the impact. He tried to bury it in fatigue, but I built it in fire. He tried to use silence to steal your sound, but I used stillness to deepen your source. At ready, your voice is coming back stronger. Not just for noise, for declarations, for prophetic release, for healing, for revival. When you open your mouth in this next chapter, you won't be speaking opinions, you will be releasing atmospheres. Your sound will break the stale cycles that have surrounded your family. Your voice will be the trumpet that calls dry bones to rise. You're not just regaining speech, you're reclaiming territory. The enemy didn't want that. He didn't want you to find out how powerful your surrender made you. But now it's too late. You survived the suppression, and now you will rise into sound. And when people ask how you regained your fire, how you found the words again after so much silence, you'll point to me, not to platforms, not to strategies, not to people, but to the secret places where I rebuilt your breath. You'll say, he never stopped listening. And now, I can't stop speaking. But this time, you won't be speaking from a place of seeking validation. You'll be speaking from a place of divine backing. You'll know it in your bones, this is not just my voice, this is my weapon. And child, I haven't brought you this far to go quiet now. Open wide. The sound of victory is rising, and you're the one I chose to release it. Keep your ears open, what's next is going to shake the ground beneath your feet. You kept wondering if you were invisible to me, as time passed and doors didn't open, and answers didn't come. But I need you to understand something. Being unseen by the world never meant being unseen by me. I didn't misplace you. I didn't overlook you. I didn't delay your destiny out of neglect, I did it out of intentional design. I've been working in layers too deep for the surface to recognize. You thought silence meant absence, but I was building something in secret that was far too significant to be rushed into public view. The magnitude of what I'm bringing through your life required the kind of preparation that looks like being forgotten, but child, you were not forgotten. You were being set apart. The reason it felt like things moved for everyone but you was because I was giving you something that wouldn't just impact your current space, it would leave a trail of transformation behind you for decades to come. I wasn't molding you for a moment, I was shaping you for a legacy. What's on your life is loud in heaven, even if it's been quiet on earth. I've been refining your course so when I finally release what I've placed inside you, it won't echo once and disappear. No, it will resound. It will thunder across time. Your faithfulness in the shadows has built a foundation strong enough to carry generational impact. This is bigger than you. Bigger than your timeline. Bigger than your emotions. You've been chosen to carry something that doesn't just change your now but rewrites the story for those who come after you. I know it was hard watching others get chosen while you waited in the back. I saw the ache in your heart as opportunities passed over you, as applause echoed for others while you sat in silence wondering if anyone would ever see what you carry. But I did. I always did. And the reason I didn't rush to expose you was because I love you too much to let the spotlight crush what I'm cultivating. If I had allowed the world to celebrate you too soon, it would have shaped your identity around their praise instead of my presence. But instead, I let the silence form roots. I let the hidden seasons shape your character. I let the quiet carve out depth. Because I'm not just preparing you to arrive, I'm preparing you to remain. Now, hear me. You are standing on the edge of the very moment I preserved you for. What's about to emerge from your life will not be a whisper. It will be a ripple that shakes environments. Your story, the very one you thought would be overlooked, is going to carry divine weight. People will encounter your testimony and feel chains they didn't even know existed begin to snap. This is why I didn't answer when you wanted me to. This is why I didn't open the doors you begged for. I wasn't just thinking about your comfort, I was thinking about your capacity. And now, because you stayed faithful in what felt like delay, I'm about to turn your hidden obedience into an undeniable wave of influence. Your name will be remembered because it was loud, it will be remembered because it was holy. What I release through you is going to awaken things in others they thought were dead. Your yes in private has authorized breakthroughs for people you haven't even met yet. And it will echo not just in conversations or platforms but in hearts, in atmospheres, in bloodlines. I'm rebuilding families through your surrender. I'm restoring hope through your decision to keep going when it felt pointless. Every step you took in obscurity was writing a future of freedom for someone else. And soon, you'll begin to witness the unfolding. Don't try to control it. Don't try to explain it. Just continue walking with me, and let the echo be mine to orchestrate. You see, what's coming won't need your validation. It won't need your defense. It will be undeniable because it was built in the fire, in the waiting, in the tears, in the yes no one clapped for. And when people ask, where did this come from? You'll say, from a place only God saw. From a moment He marked before I even knew how much it would cost me. But oh, child, what's coming is heavier in glory than anything you lost in preparation. Get ready. I'm not just lifting your name, I'm echoing my glory through it. Stay close. What comes next will make everything make sense. You've been wondering why the pressure never eased, why the burdens piled higher instead of lifting, why your strength was stretched to the edge of exhaustion, but what you didn't realize is that I wasn't trying to crush you. I was cultivating something inside of you that could only grow under pressure. That heaviness you carried wasn't a sign of abandonment, it was evidence that I was increasing your endurance. What you called too much, I called preparation. What you labeled unbearable, I named expansion. I didn't let the weight break you because it wasn't meant to end you, it was designed to awaken a depth in you that you didn't even know existed. You were being expanded, not punished. Tirei and I've forgotten. Vorm and I've forsaken. Every time you felt like giving up but chose to keep moving, your capacity widened. Every night you cried and still woke up with a yes in your spirit. Your spiritual lungs grew larger. The resistance was real, but so was your resilience. I watched you carry what should have collapsed you. I watched you lift what others drop. And I want you to know nothing was wasted. Not a single moment of pressure escaped my attention. I measured the load. I timed the season. I controlled the intensity. And when it felt like it was all too much, I placed my hand underneath your spirit and whispered, just one more step. That whisper became your strength. You didn't even realize it, but that quiet push from me was the very thing that kept you standing when you thought you'd fall apart. The heaviness was not the enemy. The true danger was quitting too soon. What you didn't. And that's what changed everything. You kept going. You kept trusting. You kept worshiping in the way. And child, because you've been faithful under the pressure, you're about to experience something that those who ran never will. I've built in you the capacity to carry what others admire but can't sustain. I've made your spirit strong enough to handle what I'm about to place in your hands. It's not just a blessing, it's a responsibility. It carries weight, not just favor. And if I had given it to you too soon, it would have crushed you. But now you're ready. You learned how to breathe under the weight. You found me in the string. And because of that, The very thing that once made you question your worth is about to become the place where my glory pours out in full. You were never meant to carry it alone. I've always been with you. But I let you feel the resistance so you'd stop depending on shallow strength and start relying on what only I can supply. I let you struggle not because I delight in watching you wrestle, but because I knew that the oil I placed within you could only be released through pressure. And now, the oil is ready. What's coming won't just be exciting, it will be heavy. It will require the strength I built in secret. It will require the grace you learned in the grind. It will require the wisdom you forge in the fire. But don't fear the weight of the new season. I've already fortified your shoulders. What others call overwhelming, you'll carry with ease. What once crushed you, you'll now command with confidence. Because the weight didn't win. It only revealed what was already in you. Strength, fire, tenacity, vision, and most of all, faith that doesn't shake, even when your hands tremble. And now, because you allowed the load to shape you instead of stop you, I'm going to trust you with more. Not to oppress people, not to elevate your name, but to reflect mine. I'm not giving you more to drain you, I'm giving you more because you finally know where your true power comes from. And as you step into what's ahead, you'll feel it, the shift. You'll sense a holy authority resting on you that wasn't there before. Doors will open not because of striving, but because of stewardship. Rooms will change when you walk in, not because of charisma, but because of consecration. You didn't survive the wait just to tell a survival story. You're going to demonstrate what grace under pressure looks like. And when people ask how you did it, how you endured what would have crushed others, you'll simply smile and say, He trained me in the shadows. He made me strong where no one could see. And child, now they will see not just your strength, but mine through you. Keep listening. I'm just getting started. You kept asking if I was still speaking, if I had gone quiet, if I had turned away from your pain. But child, the truth is my voice never stopped. It just changed forms. You were searching for thunder, but I came in the stillness. You were listening for the loud, but I spoke in the details. I whispered through timing. I echoed through interruptions. I murmured through redirections. And all along, I was calling your name not once, not occasionally, but constantly through every moment that felt like confusion, delay, and uncertainty. My voice wasn't gone. It was moving in ways your ears weren't trained to notice yet. You were expecting one tone, but I chose another, because I needed your spirit to grow beyond the familiar. I spoke through the closed door that made you pause. I called you gently through the shift in atmosphere when you didn't know what to pray. I surrounded you with promptings that tugged at your gut, nudged your heart, and stirred your thoughts at midnight. You called it overthinking, but it was me trying to get your attention without overwhelming you. When I needed to move you, I didn't always use volume, I used presence. And child, I have never stopped being present. Even when your heart was numb. Even when your mind was racing. Even when the silence made you question whether you were still chosen. My silence wasn't rejection, it was reverence. I was drawing you into a deeper place. A place where faith doesn't depend on noise. A place where trust doesn't require constant confirmation. A place where you know I'm near not because of what you hear, but because of what you feel in your spirit. There were moments when the wind felt like resistance, but it was actually my breath redirecting your steps. There were nights when sleep escaped you, and I sat beside you, whispering identity over your weary mind. There were decisions you almost made, and at the very edge, a holy hesitation came not from fear, but from my whisper saying, wait. You didn't recognize it as me because it didn't sound like the voices you were used to. But I don't copy earthly sounds, I shape souls in sacred tones. And this season wasn't about making you hear louder, it was about making you hear clearer. And now, your clarity is unlocking. Not because I'm speaking louder, but because you finally quieted the chaos long enough to discern me. I've been weaving my voice through your environment, through signs too personal for anyone else to decode. A psalm at just the right time. A verse you didn't search for. A stranger's words that pierce straight to your core. The delay that saved you. The encounter that softened you. The setback that routed you into safety. You were never out of sync. I was just training you to hear me when everything else goes quiet. Because where I'm taking you, you can't afford to need constant noise. You need sensitivity. You need intimacy. You need to know my tone, my patterns, my presence in the stillness. And now that you've grown past needing flashes and fire, I can begin speaking again in ways that will surprise you. I will come through people who don't even know they're being used. I will answer prayers in whispers so specific that only you will recognize them. I will repeat myself through confirmation so subtle that your spirit will weep in recognition. This is not the end of our conversation, it's the beginning of a new level of communion. You're not being punished with silence, you're being invited into sensitivity. You're being called into a space where my whispers lead your steps more confidently than the shouts of others. You used to ask me, Lord, why don't you just say it clearly? And I was responding, I am just not the way you expected. And now that your ears have learned the frequency of faith, now that your discernment is no longer dependent on outward signals, you're about to hear me in every corner of your life. In choices, in interruptions, in blessings, in boundaries. I won't just speak through pastors, I'll speak through patterns. I won't just echo in worship, I'll murmur through peace in the middle of pressure. I've been teaching you how to interpret the language of heaven, and now, child, you're fluent. So stop saying, I can't hear him. You can. You just didn't realize I wasn't shouting, I was saturating. I was immersing you in messages all around you. And now, you're ready to understand what others miss. Because you stayed. Because you listened. Because you waited, even when nothing felt alive. And now, I will speak in ways that shake atmospheres and only you will hear it. Keep your spirit alert. I'm not done talking. I'm just getting started. It's time you know the truth. Not everything you called a delay was actually late. What you thought was running behind wasn't held back by time, but by timing. Your breakthrough wasn't lost. You would have done. It wasn't trapped in the heavens waiting for me to remember. It was held in place on purpose until your heart, your thoughts, your posture came into full alignment with the pace of my purpose. You kept asking, when, Lord? But the better question was, where am I standing in relation to what you've already finished? Because the release was never in question, the readiness was. Not readiness in your plans, but readiness in your spirit. There are things I could not let arrive until you came into the position where you would recognize the blessing as me, not as coincidence, not as luck, not as your own doing, but as evidence of deep surrender. You see, child, alignment is not about perfection, it's about positioning. I needed your motives to be purified. I needed your dependence to be total. I needed your hands empty of idols, your mind cleared of assumptions, your emotions no longer driven by desperation. That's not punishment. That's protection. Because what I'm releasing now is not something you'll visit, it's something you'll carry. And I don't hand out mantles to wandering hearts. I don't pour all undivided devotion. So while you waited for things to fall into place externally, I was guiding things into order internally. I was adjusting your focus. I was exposing the places where control tried to replace trust. I was peeling away layers of pride disguised as doing enough. I was silencing the need to compare your pace to someone else's, and instead teaching you to follow the rhythm of grace. And now, alignment has taken root. Slowly, quietly, deeply, without applause, without fanfare, but powerfully. And because the shift happened inside, the release is now flowing outside. This is not random, it's right on time. It's not because you finally earned it, it's because you finally surrendered the version of you that wasn't ready to steward what I've been waiting to give. Your alignment wasn't about a formula, it was about intimacy. The moment you stopped chasing answers and started pursuing me, the moment you stopped praying for speed and started asking for discernment, the atmosphere began to respond. You did see it, but the moment your posture turned from striving to yielded worship, heaven nodded. The moment your soul said, "Even if I don't understand, I still trust you," I marked the countdown. Your breakthrough was not locked, it was waiting for you to unlock yourself. From fear, from timelines, from pressure, from the obsession with outcomes that drained your peace. The chains that needed to break weren't always around you, they were within you. The delay didn't hurt you, it healed your vision and matured your hearing. It exposed what was hiding behind the surface. It delivered you from building your hope on temporary highs. It brought you into alignment with my heartbeat. And now that you're here, even if you don't feel perfect, even if you still tremble, I'm telling you the appointed hour is active. What's coming won't just be seen, it will fit. It will resonate. It will not feel like a foreign blessing or a heavy burden. It will feel like something your soul already made room for. And that's how you'll know this was not delayed. This was always meant to arrive at the pace of your preparation. Because I am not just the God of moments, I am the Lord of seasons. I don't release rain without first tilling the ground. And now, the ground is tilled. Your spirit is aligned. Your capacity has expanded. Your motives are pure. And most importantly, your eyes are on me, not just what I can give. That's alignment. That's the moment heaven moves. So don't mourn the time you think you lost. Nothing is wasted in my hands. I don't work on clocks, I work through surrender. You're right on schedule for what I'm about to do. And when it begins to flood in, don't say, "Why now?" Say, "I see it now. I understand." You waited for me to catch up to what you already declared. And I did. I waited not because I doubted you, but because I was building the you that could hold the weight of what I've prepared. The wait wasn't punishment. The delay wasn't denial. It was alignment. And now, child, you are standing in the flow. Don't step back. Don't question it. Don't brace for disappointment. It's here. And it's holy. Keep listening. This is only the beginning of what's being released. I see it in you even now. The weariness behind your brave face. The tired hope that still flickers, even after everything tried to blow it out. The kind of exhaustion that lives deep in your spirit, not just your body. You haven't just been busy, you've been battling. Internally, emotionally, spiritually, you've been carrying a weight that others can't see, pushing through storms that left no trace on your outside but left your insides aching for relief. And yet, child, you're still standing. Shady maybe, white brads, but still upright, still walking, still trusting, still whispering prayers when the volume of your voice failed you. You've kept going when every logical voice said, "Just quit." And I want you to know this moment right here, this very point in your journey, is not the end, it's the final bend before the wind changes direction. You've been walking against resistance, climbing through spiritual headwinds that made every step feel heavier than the last. It wasn't always about external obstacles. Sometimes, it was the inner battle, the kind that wore you down without ever making a sound. The kind that made you question, does this even matter anymore? But I'm telling you, yes, it matters. Every tear, every effort, every time you chose grace when you wanted to retreat, every time you gave when you had nothing left but faith that counted. It built something in you that didn't go unnoticed by heaven. And now, child, you're closer than you think. You're not walking in circles. You're walking into breakthrough. The weariness you feel, that's the pressure that builds right before the release. That's the final mile before the finish line appears. There's something sacred about those who keep moving while they're exhausted. I pay special attention to the ones who limp forward when running isn't an option anymore. Because that, child, is worship. That is surrender. That is the kind of obedience I multiply. And that's what I see in you now, not a failure, not a mess, not someone who fell behind, but someone who refused to stop when it got dark. Someone who said, "Even if all I can do is crawl, I'm still coming after you." And now, because of that grit wrapped in surrender, the wind is about to shift. The atmosphere around your life is about to adjust. The same places that resisted you will start responding to you. The spiritual fatigue is about to be replaced with divine momentum. This next move won't require the same strain. It won't deplete you the way the last season did. Because now, you're not operating on adrenaline, you're walking in alignment. The winds that pushed against you are turning, and they'll begin to carry what once felt stuck. You'll begin to notice that what used to drain you now feels lighter. What used to delay now flows freely. What used to discourage you won't hold the same weight. You're entering the divine reversal. And it's not because you forced it, it's because you endured long enough for the appointed time to catch up to your obedience. And I want you to know I'm proud of you. Not just for the times you praised loudly, but for the moments you whispered, "Help me," and didn't walk away. I'm proud of the fight in you. I'm proud of the way you held on when you felt forgotten. I'm proud of your consistency in a world that celebrates quick success. You chose depth over visibility, faith over familiarity, endurance over ease. And now, everything you fought for is about to be honored by heaven. The wind is turning. You won't always feel this tired. You won't always wake up with that ache in your chest. The breakthrough isn't a fantasy, it's in motion. And it's coming with force. So let this moment mark you not as your breaking point, but as your turning point. When everything tried to convince you that you missed it, but I whispered, "No, you're almost there." When fatigue tried to quiet your faith, but my presence started stirring strength you didn't know was left. When you almost let go but something told you to hold on just one more day. That something was me. And I'm telling you now, don't give up before the wind flips. Don't misread the final push as failure. It's birthing something. It's bringing you into the wide open space I've had reserved for you all along. Stay alert. Stay soft. Stay surrendered. The shift isn't coming, it's already begun. Keep breathing. Keep listening. What's about to unfold will make sense of everything that came before. Don't confuse my quiet with distance, beloved. What you've been calling silence was not abandonment, nor was it a void where I turned my face away. It was a strategic hush, a sacred stillness where I was drawing back to launch you forward. You weren't stuck. You were being staged. Just like an arrow that must be pulled back before it can be released. I was positioning you not for delay, but for velocity. The stillness wasn't empty, it was full of activity beyond your sight. I was working, rearranging, building behind the veil. I wasn't absent, I was establishing foundation under your feet that wouldn't crumble under pressure when the next level arrived. And child, that level is now within reach. You felt the silence and wondered if I had withdrawn. But what you didn't know is that I often speak the loudest in the quietest places. A stillness wasn't punishment. It was preparation. It wasn't rejection. It was reverence for what was coming. You see, before I do something significant, I often silence the noise. I clear the atmosphere. I hush the distractions. Because when I move, I don't want your focus split, I want it set. That's why conversations dried up. That's why certain people faded away. That's why your usual rhythms didn't satisfy anymore. It wasn't loss, it was alignment. I was creating space in your life, room to receive what I'm about to pour out without interference. You've been feeling like everything paused, like the momentum you had suddenly stopped. But child, momentum isn't always seen in forward motion. Sometimes, it's hidden in internal calibration. I had to quiet the chaos around you so I could fine-tune what was happening within you. Because acceleration without alignment is destruction. And I love you too much to push you forward without first anchoring you deep. The roots had to go down before the rise could happen. The silence gave you time to hear your own thoughts again, to separate my voice from the noise, to realize what truly matters. You didn't lose your way, you found your center. And now, as this moment unfolds, I want you to pay attention to the subtle changes. The pace is shifting. The weight is lifting. What once felt like resistance is loosening. Because the stillness is ending. The quiet season has completed its assignment. Acceleration is upon you. but not the kind that wears you down. The kind that multiplies results, the kind that redeems time, the kind that shocks even you with how quickly things fall into place. You're going to witness me move in ways that overturn everything the silence made you question. What was stuck will start flowing. What was delayed will get hub. What you thought you lost will return multiplied. You didn't miss your moment during the quiet. You became the kind of person who could handle what the next moment requires. You became steady. You became clear. You became bold in places you used to hesitate. And all of that growth happened when no one saw. While others ran to platforms, you bowed in secret. While others spoke to be heard, you listened to be changed. While others scrambled to prove themselves, you waited for me to reveal what you carry. And now, the season is shifting not because you pushed hard enough, but because I've deemed it time. So when things begin to move quickly, don't panic. Don't try to hold on to the former pace. Don't compare this acceleration to your past momentum. This is not a repeat, it's a release. You've been released from the old cycle, released from delay, released from false timelines, released from expectations that were never yours to carry. And now, with holy clarity, you will run not to catch up, but because you've been prepared for this speed all along. And as it begins, remember this: the silence was sacred. It wasn't wasted. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't you being forgotten. It was me, drawing you near, setting you apart, sealing you for something beyond anything you've touched before. Don't look back trying to understand why it had to be so quiet. Look ahead with the full confidence that what comes next is no longer waiting. It's activated. It's moving. It's yours. Let the stillness fall away. It served its purpose. Now, rise into motion. You are ready. And I'm not slowing down. Stay close. Stay grounded. The wind is behind you now, and the silence that felt like delay was only the countdown to everything I've been waiting to launch in your life. Keep moving forward. I have more to show you. You didn't understand why it didn't work, why the opportunity you prayed for slipped through your fingers, why the relationship you hoped would last came to a halt, why the door you stood before with faith and expectation remained firmly shut. But child, what you saw as disappointment was divine protection. I wasn't withholding to be cruel, I was rerouting to be faithful. Because what looked good to you wasn't my best for you. What appeared promising on the surface held layers you couldn't see, agendas that would have drained you, partnerships that weren't pure, auctions that would have entangled you in cycles I died to free you from. I had to step in. I had to interrupt your progress so I could preserve your purpose. I know it hurt. I know you felt confused. I know you tried to figure out where you went wrong. But you didn't miss it, you avoided what would have missed the mark. You didn't lose anything. You escaped settling. It almost wasn't punishment. That not now wasn't rejection. It was me, standing between you and the counterfeit. It was me, holding the boundary when your emotions wanted to rush forward. Because what you thought you were ready for, I saw through the lens of eternity. And I saw that it would have drained your joy, diluted your vision, and distracted you from the higher calling I've written on your name. You prayed for my will, but when it didn't look the way you imagined, you thought I wasn't listening. But I was. I listened so intently that I protected you from your own timing. I know how convincing certain doors can be. I know how persuasive temporary comfort looks when you're tired of waiting. But child, if I had allowed you to walk into what merely looked promising, it would have left you spiritually starved. You would have grown attached to things that couldn't carry your calling. You would have been applauded in the wrong assignment. And success in the wrong place is still failure to me. That's why I stepped in. That's why I closed it off. And now, here's what you need to know: what's coming is not just good, it's anointed. You won't have to force it. You won't have to perform to keep it. You won't have to question if you're too much or not enough. What I'm leading you into has been purified, timed, and soaked in my presence. It's not dressed in manipulation or coated in compromise. It's not rushed or reactionary. It's divine. It will fit you without you needing to shrink. It will challenge you, yes, but it will grow you toward me, not away. And you'll know it's me because peace will go before it even if the path requires faith. You'll recognize my hand this time, not by ease, but by clarity. This is why the delay mattered. This is why the shutdowns had to happen. I wasn't punishing you, I was preserving the purity of the assignment. I couldn't let you marry the imitation when the original was still being formed. I couldn't let your calling be entangled in platforms that had no eternal foundation. I couldn't allow you to call favor what was really distraction wrapped in opportunity. And so I blocked the access. I let what glittered fall away. I let the crown thin out. I let the voices quiet. So you'd come back to mine. So you'd remember that I don't just want you to succeed, I want you to last. And you will. Because now, your eyes are no longer fooled by appearances. Now, your spirit discerns what your emotions use to chase. And now, you're willing to let me choose even when it doesn't come fast. Now, you understand that good isn't always God. And child, that's where the real favor begins. Not in getting what you want, but in being trusted with what's holy. You're not being overlooked, you're being reserved. You're not falling behind, you're being protected from missteps that would have set you back years. And when the anointed door opens, and it will, you'll walk through it not desperate, but ready. Not unsure, but confident. Because now, you'll know that if it needed forcing, it wasn't from me. If it needed begging, it wasn't blessed. And if it made you question your worth, it wasn't worthy of you. What's ahead carries my breath. And you will see what I blocked was never to deprive you, but to deliver you into something weightier, richer, and fully aligned with the destiny I crafted with your name etched into every detail. Keep moving forward, child. The path is narrow, but it's anointed. And you're about to step into something that will redeem every closed door behind you. Keep trusting. I'm just getting started. You've been glancing sideways, comparing your journey to those beside you, wondering if you somehow missed the moment, fell out of rhythm, or arrived too late. But hear me, you are not behind. I don't measure progress the way the world does. I don't calculate timing based on applause or visibility. I don't rush my children through seasons to satisfy pressure or meet external expectations. You are right on time, not by chance but by design. Everything you thought set you back only served to redirect you to this very moment, the one I authored long before anyone had an opinion about your timeline. There were delays, yes, but not detours. There were pauses, but they were purposeful. I allowed interruptions not to derail you, but to deepen you. While you felt motionless, I was maturing something within you. While others advanced in ways that made you feel forgotten, I was fortifying your identity so that when it's your time to rise, you don't crumble under the pressure of visibility. This isn't just a new season, it's your appointed time. And you haven't missed anything, because what I have for you isn't handed out like prizes to the fastest runner, it's released to those who are aligned in heart. You've looked at your age, your achievements, your status, and silently questioned if the window already closed. But I want you to understand something: my purpose doesn't expire. It doesn't get outdated because the world moved on. It doesn't dissolve because you had to take a few healing steps before leaping. I'm not in a rush to display you, I'm committed to sustaining you. You won't need to catch up when I promote you, because the favor I'm sending won't require striving, it will respond to surrender. What you thought you had to chase is already on a collision course with your life. Not because you earned it, but because I declared it. And yes, I saw the nights you wrestled with self-doubt. I watched you scroll through timelines, wondering if you somehow failed by not being there yet. I saw you shrink back, thinking maybe your moment passed while you were waiting in the shadows. But the truth is, you haven't been waiting, you've been becoming. Every quiet yes, every private surrender, every choice to stay faithful when no one applauded, it was all preparation for the exact timing I set in motion. You're not late, child. You're aligned. You're moving in harmony with a cadence set by heaven. And no clock on earth can override my decree. So breathe. Let go of the panic that says you're falling behind. Release the fear that you should be doing more by now. Dismiss the shame that creeps in when others seem further along. I'm not in competition with your past, and neither should you be. What matters now is your availability, not your resume. What matters now is your readiness to move when I say move, not how long you waited for the green light. And I'm telling you right now, your light is turning. The season is shifting. What looked dormant is about to show signs of movement. But not because you hustled your way into alignment, because your heart stayed soft through the waiting. This next chapter doesn't require you to prove yourself. It requires you to trust me like never before. The pace you're about to step into will feel supernatural, not because it's rushed, but because it's right. Everything will begin to click. Pieces will start falling into place without the pressure you once felt to force them. Opportunities will arrive not because you chased them down, but because they've been waiting for you to reach this level of internal agreement with my timing. You didn't miss it, you're walking right into it. And when people say, "How did this happen so fast?" you'll smile knowing it wasn't fast, it was faithful. You weren't instant, it was intentional. You didn't skip steps, you submitted through every single one. And now, the steps are turning into strides. The whispers are becoming doors. The preparation is transforming into performance, not of your ability, but of my goodness. So stop mourning what you thought came too late. Nothing is late when I lead. You're exactly where you're supposed to be, and what's unfolding now is not a surprise to me, it's the fulfillment of what I spoke over you before you took your first breath. Keep walking. I'm not done revealing what's already been scheduled in your favor. You thought the pressure meant you were doing something wrong. You assumed the opposition meant you'd lost your way. But child, listen to me closely now, those battles weren't proof I had walked away. They were evidence that you had stepped into territory the enemy desperately wanted to keep locked down. You weren't under attack because you were weak. You were targeted because you carry something powerful. You have been entrusted with weight in the spirit realm that you didn't even recognize yet. And the resistance didn't come to reveal your limits, it came because darkness recognized what you still hadn't fully seen about yourself. You are a threat. Every fiery dart, every lie that came against your identity, every wave of fatigue that seemed to hit without warning, it all had one intention: to wear you down before you found out how much authority you truly carry. But it didn't work. You may have bent, but you didn't break. You may have cried, but you didn't quit. And because you endured, I'm pulling the curtain back to show you that what was attacking you was actually afraid of what I've placed within you. The warfare wasn't random. It was reaction. Reaction to your obedience. Reaction to your intercession. Reaction to your persistence when everything in hell whispered, "Give up." You see, I never said following me would mean absence of resistance. I said I'd be with you in the fire. And I have been. I never left the furnace. I never vacated the battlefield. I've stood right beside you in the unseen realm, reinforcing your weary spirit with grace, renewing your vision when the fog tried to blur it, speaking truth to your heart while lies surrounded your mind. And through it all, you kept standing. Not because you had all the answers, but because you had a deeper yes. A yes that said, "Even if I don't feel strong, I know who walks with me." I want you to look at the places where the warfare was fiercest. Those are often the very areas your calling is connected to. The same places where doubts scream the loudest are the ones where breakthrough is about to erupt. The enemy doesn't waste time attacking what doesn't carry potential. He only presses against what threatens his grip. So if he pressed hard, it's because you're positioned for impact. And now that you know this wasn't punishment, it was confirmation, you can stop asking, "What did I do wrong?" and start asking, "What is heaven trying to birth through me that has the enemy this nervous?" Child, I'm proud of how you kept showing up. I'm proud of how you didn't let bitterness take root, even when betrayal tried to find a home in your heart. I'm proud of how you held your peace when chaos invited you to lose it. And now, because you've passed through the fire without forfeiting your faith, I'm turning the very areas you were attacked in into altars of testimony. What once looked like defeat will be the very place my glory descends. What once tried to silence your voice will amplify it even louder. What once made you hide will now become the platform where I reveal my power through you. You're not wounded, you're wiser. You're not broken, you're being built. And the attacks that tried to shatter you have actually set the stage for what I'm about to release through your life. There will be no mistaking who brought you through. This next chapter won't be marked by pain, it will be marked by my presence. The very thing that tried to take you out will become the launching pad for what lifts you higher than ever before. And you won't have to explain it. The transformation will speak for itself. People who watched you in the valley will witness the elevation, not because you chased recognition, but because you held on to righteousness when it would have been easier to retaliate. I know the accusations that came felt personal. I saw how deeply the words pierced, how the rejection made your chest ache, how betrayal from those you trusted shook your ability to open your heart again. But child, what was meant to destroy your softness became the pressure that strengthened your discernment. The darts that were meant to dismantle your spirit only proved that something in you made hell nervous. You don't get attacked like that unless your life holds weight in the unseen. That's why the opposition showed up when it did, because you were closer than you realized to the fulfillment of something sacred. You didn't provoke the battles. You triggered them by moving into alignment with what I already ordained. There's an atmosphere around those who carry divine assignments, one the enemy can smell from a distance. And the moment you said yes to my purpose, the moment you chose obedience over comfort, the warfare intensified. But child, not one battle surprised me. Not one struggle caught me off guard. I had already armed you with spiritual endurance before the attack ever began. While the enemy came with confusion, I infused your spirit with clarity that wouldn't be shaken. While he tried to isolate you, I surrounded you with angels. While he whispered lies to paralyze your progress, I ignited truth that kept you moving even when everything told you to sit down. You weren't defeated, you were being identified. Every strike revealed more about the power you carry. And now that you've come through it, you can stand in confidence, knowing that what was meant to bury you actually confirmed what's been buried inside of you all along: resilience, authority, discernment, and unwavering faith. You didn't just survive, you matured. You learned how to pray through the pressure. You discovered the difference between those assigned to your life and those attached to your image. You began to understand that peace isn't the absence of enemies, it's the presence of divine security in the middle of confrontation. And I want you to hear this loud: the attacks did not mean I abandoned you. They meant you were being forged in fire for something far greater than comfort. I never left. I stood with you when the tears came unannounced. I held your spirit steady when you couldn't speak the pain. I whispered to your soul when your mind was overwhelmed. You never fought alone. I covered you in shadows when you didn't even know how close danger was. And because of that protection, seen and unseen, you're still here. Not limping in shame, but walking out with strategy. Not broken in despair, but rising in discernment. Everything that came against you will now serve you. What tried to delay you will become the backdrop of your testimony. The accusations that tried to redefine your name will collapse under the evidence of fruitfulness that's about to burst forth from your life. You're not stuck in a battle anymore, you're stepping into victory, already signed and sealed with my name. The enemy may have thought he could silence you with setbacks, but I'm about to use your story to echo my faithfulness louder than ever before. He tried to disqualify you, but I've already approved you. He tried to distort your identity, but I've already branded you with purpose. So lift your head. Breathe deep. Stop apologizing for how intense it's been. You were being equipped, not eliminated. You were being strengthened, not punished. And now, because you didn't curse the pressure, I'm releasing promotion, not the kind that draws attention, but the kind that breaks chains for others. You are a carrier of breakthrough now. You've been through too much to play small. You've overcome too much to question your place. You endured too much to shrink back now. Let this be your reminder. The battle never meant absence, it meant calling. It meant heaven was investing in you while hell panicked about what was coming. And now, it's here. A war trying to steal your voice, but it didn't. In fact, It made your voice sharper, more anointed, more grounded. So go forward boldly, with the wisdom that came from walking through fire and the authority that comes from knowing who sent you. I have more to reveal, and now that the war is ending, your impact begins. Stay alert. This was only the beginning. You stood in front of so many doors with expectancy in your eyes and hope swelling in your chest, only to feel the sting of nothing happening. You knocked, you waited, you prayed, and when nothing moved, you thought something was wrong with you. You questioned your prayers, your choices, your worth, even my presence. But listen now, child, because what you saw as a denied opportunity was actually a divine interception. I didn't let those doors open because what was behind them wasn't real. It looked like favor, but it was false. It appeared as opportunity, but it was laced with compromise. You thought it was breakthrough, but I knew it would have broken something precious inside you. You see, I don't just open what looks good, I open what aligns with your purpose. I close what doesn't carry the oil of your assignment. There were rooms that would have applauded you but manipulated you. Platforms that would have elevated you but drained you. Relationships that seemed like destiny but carried distraction. If I let you through every door you desired, you would have been surrounded by imitation, not intimacy. That's why I stepped in. That's why nothing budged when you pressed. Not because you weren't worthy, but because you are too valuable to be handed over to something that couldn't hold the weight of your calling. The world is full of mirages, glimmering visions of promises that I never spoke. Things that offer quick affirmation but carry long-term decay. Things that validate the ego but starve the soul. I don't trade your anointing for applause. I don't negotiate purpose for comfort. So while you mourned the closed doors, I was celebrating the detour. I was guarding the path that leads you to the version of the promise that won't cost you your peace. I was filtering what you couldn't discern yet. I was blocking you from stepping into rooms that wanted your gift, but not your growth. And now that you've matured, now that your vision is clearer, I want you to see those rejections through my eyes. They weren't punishments. They were pivots. They weren't delays. They were discernment in disguise. I never said no to punish you, I said no to preserve what's sacred about your journey. You thought those missed chances were the end, but they were the beginning of something more authentic, more whole, more holy than what you asked for. I watched you stand at those thresholds with a sincere heart, and I honored your faith not by saying yes to everything, but by redirecting you to what you didn't even know to ask for. Now you're entering the season where the real doors begin to open. Not the ones that flatter, but the ones that fit. Not the ones that demand performance, but the ones that honor your identity. You won't have to wonder if you're forcing it. You'll know it's me because peace will greet you before the handle even turns. And when you walk through, you'll understand why every other entrance had to stay closed. This won't feel rushed. It won't require you to shrink or pretend. The doors I open now are customized for who you've become through the waiting. And you didn't just wait, you trusted. You didn't just survive, you transformed. Child, I'm not in the business of giving out diluted promises. I'm not interested in halfway answers or almost blessings. I didn't call you to chase every open space, I called you to discern which ones are mine. And now, because you've walked with me through the pain of redirection, I'm opening what no man can shut. These are not just good doors, they are ordained ones. And when they swing wide, you'll feel the weight of my presence on the threshold. You'll feel the clarity that only comes from alignment. You'll walk into rooms you didn't campaign for, into places you didn't audition for, and you'll carry the grace I built in you while you stood outside all the wrong ones. So don't regret what didn't happen. Don't idolize what I intentionally kept from your life. What's ahead carries the fullness of what I've promised, not a shadow of it. And when you get there, you'll be able to say with confidence, this was worth every closed door. The fake versions never had a chance because I've always been faithful to protect you from the lesser thing. And now, the real is arriving. Stay in position, child. It's almost time to walk through. And this time, It won't just open, it will welcome you. Keep watching. The right door is unlocking as you read this. You thought it should have happened already. You believed that by now, the breakthrough, the opportunity, the unveiling would have arrived. You kept wondering why. With all the faith you've shown, with all the quiet obedience, with all the hours spent in prayer, you were still hidden. But child, you weren't being overlooked, you were being reserved. You were covered, not because I was ignoring you, but because I was preserving you for a moment of maximum impact. It wasn't that your blessing wasn't ready, it's that the audience I prepared it for hadn't arrived yet. There are people assigned to witness what I'm about to do in you, and they weren't in position when you were asking me to release it. But now they are. You see, what I've placed inside you isn't just for your elevation, it's for their awakening. This blessing isn't just personal, it's prophetic. It's going to speak louder than any sermon you could preach, because it will be clothed in the evidence of survival, of transformation, of unshakable trust. If I had let it happen when you first asked, you would have received it quietly. But now it's going to ripple through rooms, reach into atmospheres, and shift lives, because now the right eyes are watching. And not just any eyes that once doubted you, dismissed you, misunderstood you, or even hoped you'd fail. I don't say that to stir pride, I say it to prepare you. Because what's coming will not just validate your journey, it will confirm that I was in it the entire time. I know it felt like the silence was dragging. I know the waiting made you question whether the promise had passed you by. But child, I was watching every moment while the ones who needed to see weren't ready. Some were too distracted. Some were too far. Some weren't softened enough to recognize my glory when it shows up on your life. But I've arranged something now. I've turned hearts. I've adjusted angles. I've pulled people into place like a divine set design. And when I move, they'll know it wasn't coincidence. They'll see it was me. Not because you shouted it, but because what's coming cannot be denied. The glory I'm about to reveal will be unmistakable. You've never needed recognition to be faithful, and I honor that. You kept serving in silence. You kept giving when no one clapped. You poured out your oil with no spotlight. And now, because of that hidden history, I'm going to pour something on your life that can't be ignored. Not to exalt you, but to magnify me through you. This is about more than timing, it's about testimony. The unveiling is going to do something in the hearts of those watching. It will make the proud question their assumptions. It will make the weary believe again. It will make the cynic pause and say, only God could have done that. Because what's coming is not ordinary, it's orchestration. So don't despise the delay. Don't curse the seasons of invisibility. You weren't being denied, you were being timed. And now that the alignment has arrived, expect visibility to increase, not for show, but for purpose. Expect eyes to turn toward what I'm doing in your life, not because you forced it, but because I've anointed it. You won't have to demand attention. You won't have to chase platforms. You won't have to manufacture momentum. The moment I breathe on what you've been stewarding in private, it will carry weight that draws eyes not to you, but to the source within you. And when it begins, walk with grace. Don't shrink. Don't apologize for the spotlight I place you in. But don't inflate, either. Stay anchored in the truth that it was never about being seen, it was always about being sent. You were hidden for a reason, and now you're being revealed for a mission. I'm not just promoting you, I'm positioning you. And the ones watching, some will doubt, some will cheer, some will question, but none will be able to deny that I've placed my hand upon you. So get ready. What once felt delayed is about to unfold. The eyes are here. The moment is set. And I, the Lord your God, am the one who lights the stage not for show, but for glory. Don't hold back. You're not late. You're right on time. Stay close. There's more to unveil, and I'm not done showing the world what happens when someone dares to trust me in the dark. They've seen your struggle, but they haven't seen your source. They've watched you stumble, but they haven't known the strength that held you up when your own arms gave out. They saw moments of weakness, but they missed the hours you spent on your knees when no one was looking. And now, I'm taking all of it, the pain, the process, the pressure, and turning it into something that will point people back to me. Your story is about to become proof that I didn't leave, that I didn't change my mind about you, and that I never stopped writing a redemptive chapter, even when everything around you looked like the end. This isn't just about vindication. This isn't just about reward. This is about redemption that speaks. This is about a testimony that echoes louder than the accusations. I'm taking every broken piece and fusing it into something whole, something holy. Not just for your healing, but for the healing of the ones who have silently watched you walk through what would have crushed someone else. They didn't know how much you carried. They didn't understand why you were still standing. But soon, they will. Because what I'm releasing into your life will not just lift you, it will awaken faith in those who thought I had forgotten them. There are people who've been skeptical of me not because of doctrine, but because they've only ever seen religion without power, form without fire. But when they see what I'm about to do in your life, they'll begin to ask questions they never dared to voice. Because you are the message I'm sending. You're the living letter. You're the walking sermon. Not by perfection, but by persistence. Not because you did everything right, but because you refused to give up when everything screamed to let go. And that resilience, fueled by grace, is the very thing I'm going to highlight, not to elevate you, but to expose the depth of my mercy. This is why it took time. This is why I allowed the process to stretch longer than you expected. I was cultivating something in you that couldn't be rushed. I was preparing a narrative that would speak across rooms you will never physically enter, across generations that will hear your name only as part of the testimony. I'm making your breakthrough contagious. It will inspire. It will shake chains. It will unlock something in those who are secretly desperate to believe that I still move, that I still restore, that I still turn ashes into crowns. And when it begins to unfold, I want you to remember this: you are not the hero of this story. I am. And that's what makes it so powerful. You'll look back and realize that the moments you wanted to disappear were actually the chapters that carried the most weight. You'll see that the detours, the delays, the disappointments were not wasted. They were woven into a greater masterpiece that only I could author. And the beauty of it all, you didn't have to manufacture any of it. You just had to stay open. You just had to keep showing up. You just had to keep saying, "Yes, Lord," even when you didn't understand what the yes would cost. Now, the reward is here, but not the kind that just benefits you. This reward will ripple. This reward will lift heads that have been hanging low. This reward will restore vision to people who stopped dreaming. When they see you rise, they won't just celebrate you, they'll start to believe again. They'll remember that I am still in the business of restoration, that I still take ordinary people and wrap them in extraordinary purpose, that I still rewrite stories others tried to end. So stand tall, child. Not in pride, but in purpose. I'm not just rescuing you, I'm revealing myself through you. Your story is no longer a source of shame, it's a stage for my glory. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to stay present, stay yielded, stay available. The story I've written will speak volumes without your striving. It will touch lives you never imagined, and it will confirm to many that I am still the God who brings beauty from dust. This is the beginning of the unveiling. Get walking forward. I'm not done turning your history into someone else's hope. Keep your heart soft. You were never just surviving, you were being prepared to carry my mercy in motion. And now, the world is about to witness it through you. I watched you kneel while hurting. I saw the way your lips kept moving in faith even when your heart was aching in places words couldn't reach. You didn't wait for the pain to stop before you prayed, you brought the pain into your prayer. And that, child, moved heaven. You prayed through pressure. You interceded through heartbreak. You didn't wait to be whole before you cried out, you called on me while still in pieces. And because of that, What you don't realize is that something powerful was activated. Not just a response to your pain, but a release because of your posture. While you were bleeding, I was building. While you were weeping, I was assigning angels. And now, what you've been carrying in faith is being surrounded by divine protection. The prayers you whispered through trembling lips weren't wasted. The declarations you made with cracked strength weren't ignored. I heard it all. I counted every syllable born out of anguish, every tear-soaked sentence, every groan that didn't have language. While others saw your quiet, I saw your warfare. You were battling through the unseen, tearing down lies that tried to take root in your mind. And I did not sit back in silence. No, I dispatched angels to war for what you're birthing. This is bigger than survival now. This is about a promise that's being positioned for manifestation. You need to know this. Your wounds didn't disqualify your authority, they revealed it. Only those with deep purpose are attacked at this level, and yet, through it all, you never stopped praying. Even when you felt nothing changing. Even when you doubted whether I was near. Even when your voice barely rose above a whisper, you still came to me. You didn't stop the conversation. And now, because of that loyalty in the middle of heartbreak, I've surrounded your destiny with angelic assistance that no man, no lie, no delay can interfere with. What is yours is now being fortified in the Spirit. The breakthrough that's forming is not fragile. It's been baptized in your perseverance. It's been sealed by your continual surrender. I didn't just watch you bleed, I held you while you did. And even when you did feel me, I was there. Right in the middle of the battlefield. Right in the center of the ache. You thought your prayers were bouncing off the ceiling, but they were filling the courts of heaven, one after another, until they became a cry too loud for the earth to contain. That's what triggered this next move. Your honesty. Your faith in the fire. Your yes with no evidence. And now, I'm answering in a way that will silence every doubt. I'm moving around you. I'm placing protection over what's about to emerge. The very thing that once felt vulnerable is now under divine watch. The miracle that once felt threatened is now being encircled by angelic presence. What you prayed for while bleeding will not be stolen in your season of blooming. I've placed sentries at every gate of your life. The enemy won't be able to touch what's been entrusted to you, because this promise isn't unguarded, it's under divine surveillance. So lift your head. Let the shame fall off your shoulders. You didn't fail. You didn't miss it. You didn't fall behind. You endured what others would have escaped from. You stayed when everything inside you wanted to flee. And now, heaven is standing around your life not just to deliver the answer, but to ensure it reaches you untouched by the hands of delay or distortion. This is holy territory now. What's been conceived in pain is being delivered in peace, and not one part of it will be lost. Let this be your confidence. The very prayers you prayed when it felt like no one understood were the ones I leaned in to hear most closely. I recorded them. I responded to them. And now, I'm answering in the form of presence, my presence around your promise, and the presence of angels around your purpose. You don't need to fight to protect what I've already secured. You just need to keep walking, keep trusting, keep breathing. You've done the bleeding. Now comes the building. And every step from here will be watched over by forces you cannot see but will soon begin to feel. Keep going, child. What's ahead is guarded by my word, my spirit, and angelic fire. You are not alone, and you never were. You didn't do it to be seen. You weren't trying to impress anyone. There were no lights on you, no crowd clapping, no reward in sight. But you chose obedience anyway. When no one was watching, you still did what was right. When you had no confirmation, you still stayed faithful. That silent yes you gave me in the shadows is echoing now in places you can't see yet. What you thought was overlooked was actually recorded. What felt like sowing into dry ground was me watching to see if you would trust without results. And now, child, because you kept following even when the path looked barren, the tide is beginning to turn in your favor. Heaven doesn't measure success like the world does. The world looks at outcomes, I look at heart posture. You chose me over convenience. You chose integrity when compromise could have brought ease. You carried the weight of discipline when shortcuts were available. You said no when temptation whispered comfort. And for that, I am responding. Not with just a quiet nod, but with a shift so visible that even those who doubted your value will see that the hidden obedience you sowed has triggered a harvest you could never manufacture. You didn't perform, you aligned. And now, the rewards are catching up to you. Every secret act of faithfulness has become a seed. Seeds don't shout. They don't demand attention. They don't compete. They just stay planted. They endure silence. They go unseen. But when the season is right, they rise. And child, this is that season. The harvest coming to your life is not a random outpouring, it's the result of decisions you made when it felt like nothing was moving. You didn't know how close you were when you chose to keep serving. You didn't know what I was preparing when you kept showing up with no applause, no confirmation, no visible fruit. But I knew. And I was watching. You need to know something important now. I value the private yes more than the public display. That's why I took time. That's why I didn't rush this. I wanted the depth of your obedience to outweigh the width of your influence. I wanted you to be anchored before being seen. Because what I'm releasing now is not fleeting recognition, it's lasting fruit. It's not momentary applause, it's generational impact. And because you built in silence, what's coming will stand in storms. It won't crumble under pressure, because it was born in the quiet place, the honest place, the surrendered place. And now that the shift is unfolding, you won't need to promote it. You won't need to prove anything. What I'm about to release will carry my fingerprint, not your effort. It will be undeniable. It will be surprising. And it will arrive in a way that confirms it could have only come from me. Your obedience was your invitation. Your surrender was your signature. And now the blessing is being delivered to the address of your humility. You thought you were just surviving the season, but you were pulling heaven into motion without even realizing it. People will look at you and wonder where it came from. They'll ask how it happened so suddenly. But you'll know this was never sudden. This was slow obedience. This was sacred process. This was choosing my whisper over the world's noise. And now, I'm going to honor every decision you made when no one was clapping. I'm going to respond to every act of selflessness that didn't get recognized. What you did in private has moved the courts of heaven, and now, the outcome will be visible. You won't need to explain the shift, your life will be the explanation. You won't need to defend the blessing, your journey will tell the story. You will walk into rooms your resume did qualify you for, and favor will open doors your name never reached. Not because you played the game, but because you stayed in the secret place. Not because you tried to be seen, but because you tried to stay surrendered. Now the spotlight is mine, and I've chosen to place it on what you've built with me in the dark. So stand firm, not in pride, but in quiet confidence. You're not being elevated because of people's approval, you're being positioned because of heaven's assignment. What's coming is not about vanity, it's about legacy. And you, child, are the vessel I'm choosing to pour through. Keep your heart soft. Keep your focus steady. Because the next chapter won't begin in silence, it will begin with the sound of me honoring what the world never saw. You obeyed when it didn't make sense, and now, I'm making it matter. You watched them pass you by, those who didn't see your value, those who misjudged your silence as weakness, those who thought you were insignificant because you weren't loud about your calling. They walked around you, talked over you, and looked through you, and you started to wonder if I had done the same. But child, I never overlooked you. Not once. While they saw only what was on the surface, I was recording what was in your heart. And where they dismiss you, I was documenting you. I didn't just notice your obedience, I engraved it. I didn't just see your loyalty, I wrote it into the fabric of your destiny. What they forgot, I remembered. What they ignored, I preserved. I have not placed your name in fleeting spaces that depend on human memory, I've inscribed it in the places where my word governs outcomes. Your future is not vulnerable to people's opinions. Your purpose isn't at the mercy of someone else's recognition. I didn't call you based on popularity. I called you because of preparation. And while they looked for who was trending, I searched for who was trustworthy. And child, I found that in you. There is a table being set now, a place reserved that no one can take, no matter how loud their voice or how elevated their position. Because what I've ordained, no human can override. I didn't put your name in pencil. I didn't leave room for it to be erased or replaced. I wrote it in permanent, sealed in my intention, protected by my covenant, sustained by my timing. It was never about being seen at the right time by the right people. It was about being known by me before time even began. You felt forgotten, but you were hidden. You felt dismissed, but you were being developed. You weren't skipped, you were safeguarded. If I had allowed them to see the fullness of who you are before the right season, they would have mishandled it. They would have tried to rename you, redefine you, use you for their gain rather than honor the weight of what I've placed within you. So I kept you covered not as punishment, but as protection. Because I was never concerned with their recognition, I was committed to your revelation. And now, in the places where they said your name didn't belong, I'm about to cause it to rise, not through force, not through performance, but through favor. I'm going to cause those who overlooked you to turn around, not to be shamed, but to witness the glory I'm about to reveal through your life. What they said was unqualified, I've anointed. What they thought was unimpressive, I've crowned. And when I begin to reveal what's been growing in silence, your name will be associated not with striving, but with my signature. There's no door they can lock that I can't open. There's no opportunity they can block that I haven't already surpassed. I don't need them to validate you. I've already validated you by choosing you before you had a platform, before you had a voice, before you had credentials. I wrote your name in my plans when no one even knew who you were. And now, because you didn't retaliate, because you didn't rush, because you didn't sell yourself to be seen, I'm going to show what I can do with someone who simply trusted me to do the revealing. So stop mourning their misunderstanding. Don't resent the ones who didn't see you. They were never meant to define you. Let go of the longing to be accepted by the crowd when I've already affirmed you in the courts of heaven. You belong not because they say so, but because I said so. And when I speak, no one has the authority to reverse it. Your name is written in places you haven't walked into yet. It's echoing in rooms you've never entered. It's being carried by angels who are moving on your behalf. And soon, what I've declared in secret will be seen in the open. You are not overlooked, you are established. You are not forgotten, you are chosen. You are not ignored, you are marked. What's coming will prove that I never needed the world to recognize you in order for me to bless you. I just needed you to believe that my signature over your life was enough. And it is. Keep walking. Your name is already written. And what's been written by my hand cannot be undone. Stay near. I'm not finished unfolding the rest of what I've sealed with your name. You thought you wasted years. You looked back and saw detours, missteps, chapters full of disappointment and delay. You replayed moments you wish you could rewrite. You whispered prayers laced with regret, asking me why it took so long, why certain things didn't happen when you were ready. But child, what you call lost time I call repositioned purpose. I was never behind. I was never late. I was working within a framework that stretches far beyond your calendar. While you saw stillness, I was reclaiming territory the enemy tried to steal. While you mourned over what felt like missed seasons, I was restoring timelines in ways that would surpass what you even thought was possible. I saw every effort. I captured every sacrifice. Not a single moment went unnoticed. Even when it seemed like the world was moving without you, I was moving through you. I wasn't measuring your life by moments of visibility but by layers of transformation. I was preparing you, not punishing you. I was training you in terrain that seemed fruitless, but it was there I planted resilience. It was there I deepened your character. It was there I matured your faith. The time you thought was slipping away was actually being poured back into your spirit as wisdom, strength, and clarity. What you thought was standing still was actually me resetting the foundation. Had I given you what you asked for when you asked for it, it would have landed on unsteady ground. You would have stepped into blessings that your soul wasn't rooted deep enough to sustain. And I love you too much to give you something prematurely, only for it to collapse in your hands. So I slowed the rhythm not to punish your passion, but to preserve your promise. And now, because you trusted me even when you didn't understand me, I'm releasing what has been accruing in the unseen. This is not a season of recovery, it's a season of multiplication. You're not just getting back what you thought you lost. You're stepping into overflow. You're not starting over. You're stepping ahead with acceleration that will redeem years in moments. The doors opening now will not just restore your hope, they'll return everything the enemy tried to siphon from your timeline. The connections, the opportunities, the influence, it's all coming back, but not as it was. It's coming back refined, reformed, and supernaturally aligned. And don't let anyone convince you that you're late. Don't compare your path to theirs. You weren't behind, you were being hidden on purpose, while I orchestrated something bigger than you knew how to pray for. I've kept you away from premature promotion. I've protected you from alignments that looked good but would have detoured your destiny. I let some things fall through not because you didn't deserve them, but because I had better reserved for you. Timing wasn't punishing you. It was protecting you from stepping into less when I had more on the horizon. You haven't missed your moment. You matured into it. What's coming won't require you to catch up, it will arrive already in sync with who you've become. And when it does, don't shrink back in shame over what you wish had happened earlier. Stand tall. Step in with confidence. Let people wonder how it happened so fast and let your answer be simple. God redeems. Let the ones who thought you were finished see that I was just beginning. Let those who thought time had disqualified you witness what I can do when someone surrenders their clock to my kingdom. So check off the regret. Lay down the timeline you thought you needed. The hour is not behind you, it's before you. The momentum you're about to walk in won't come from striving. It will come from surrender. And as you move, you'll notice doors open with ease where before there was resistance. Not because you've subtly become more worthy, but because the appointed time has met the prepared vessel. You didn't lose time. Time has been waiting for you to arrive as the version of yourself I've been shaping. And now that you're here, now that your heart has yielded, now that your trust has deepened, I'm releasing the fulfillment that has been gathering in the heavens. This is not just restoration, it's divine recalibration. I'm not giving you back what was. I'm giving you what always was meant to be. Get ready. What felt like a delay is about to look like destiny on display. Keep walking, we've just stepped into the hour I reserved just for you. They didn't see how close you came to giving up. They didn't hear the silent cries or witness the nights you fought invisible battles in your own mind. What you made look effortless on the outside was actually a war zone behind closed doors. The enemy thought he had you cornered. He aimed to use heartbreak, betrayal, and exhaustion to suffocate the fire inside you. But child, you didn't just survive, you outlived the assignment that was sent to destroy you. And now, I'm taking everything that was meant to bury you, and I'm turning it into the foundation you will rise from. That attack wasn't random. That breakdown didn't just happen. Hell assigned it. Darkness watched your potential rising and panicked. The enemy saw the weight of what you carried before you even knew the fullness of it, and he launched what he thought would be the final blow. He crafted circumstances designed to wear you down until you lost your voice, your strength, your will. And still you made it through. You limbered, you crawled, you wept, but you didn't stop. The thing that was meant to bury you became the moment your roots went deeper. The very storm that was supposed to drown you became the place where you learned to breathe under pressure. And now, because you endured, I will cause that very pain to bow before your purpose. This next chapter will not be built on pretending that it didn't hurt. No, I will use the truth of your survival as a weapon. You will carry it like fire in your bones. Your scars will not be hidden. They will shine with authority, testifying that I was present in the pit, not just the platform. I will not waste what wounded you. The trauma, the trial, the silence, the betrayal, it will all be transformed into fuel. It will serve your mission. It will serve your message. And most of all, it will serve others who are silently walking through the same valley you just came out of. You don't need to fear the memory of it anymore. It's not your enemy, it's now part of your evidence. When the enemy tried to take you out, he unintentionally revealed your value. He wouldn't have fought so hard if what you carried wasn't dangerous to his agenda. You didn't just survive, you graduated. You've come out of that battle with new weapons, sharpened discernment, and a level of authority you could only gain by walking through fire and refusing to bow. Now that you've come through it, the very thing that was designed to break you will build a stage for my glory to be revealed. Don't shrink when I begin to elevate you. Don't question whether you're worthy. You didn't choose the battle, but you chose to keep walking. And that choice has activated something irreversible in the spirit realm. You've been marked not by trouble but by triumph. What the enemy used to try and traumatize you, I will now use to train you. I will give you influence in areas where you once experienced the deepest oppression. I will place you before people who need to see what survival looks like in human form. You are not a victim of your past, you are proof of my hand. And now, I will use that proof to make chains fall off others who are still trapped in their silent pain. This is a turning point. No longer will your energy be spent defending how you made it through. I will be your defense. The fruit that begins to emerge will silence every accusation. The peace I release in your life will testify for you. The way I bring beauty from your ashes will speak louder than any explanation. What once almost killed you will now be under your feet, used as the very ground you walk into promise upon. I will make it serve you. I will make it answer to the purpose I've always had written over your life. And child, don't be afraid of what's next. I'm not releasing you into exposure, I'm releasing you into expression. You won't bleed publicly, you will build publicly. You won't relive the trauma, you will transform it into truth that liberates others. The enemy failed. You overplayed his hand. And now, you're about to walk in power that cannot be fabricated, manufactured, or replicated because it was born in fire, birthed in surrender, and sealed by grace. You survived for a reason. You made it through for a purpose that goes far beyond just healing. It's about setting captives free with the same strength you found in me. So step forward. You don't need to wait to be perfect. You don't need to wait to feel ready. You are the testimony. And everything that tried to crush you will now be used as the stepping stone for others to find freedom. You didn't come out empty, you came out full. And now, what once tormented you will become what testifies through you. The pain was real, but so is the power. And I'm about to show the world what that looks like through you. You thought you were being punished. You looked at the closed doors, the long seasons, the sharp losses, and you whispered through tears, "What did I do wrong?" But child, you didn't do anything wrong. I was doing something deep. I was reaching beneath the surface of what others could see and cutting away everything that couldn't carry where I'm taking you. I wasn't punishing you, I was pruning you. And pruning always feels like loss until the fruit begins to show. I had to take you through a process that would detach you from everything that looked stable but wasn't rooted in me. It wasn't discipline, it was development. You saw branches fall, relationships, habits, mindsets, even opportunities. Things you thought were good. Things you believed were part of your promise. But I saw what you couldn't. I saw what would have choked the harvest if left untouched. I saw where comfort would have become compromise. I saw how easy it would have been to settle in places that looked fruitful but weren't faithful. And so I stepped in not with anger but with intention. Every painful cut was surgical. Every removal was mercy. Because what I've prepared you for doesn't have room for extra weight. The crown you're about to carry required precision. Not just public strength, but private surrender. I didn't remove what I did to hurt you, I removed it to make room for what you couldn't yet imagine. You were holding on to what you thought was necessary, but I was holding out for what was sacred. And yes, I know it felt like loss. I know you mourned the seasons I pulled you back. You saw others being launched, while you were still in the garden of refinement. But child, a tree that's pruned the most is the one that bears the heaviest fruit. The process was longer for you because the weight of what you're called to carry is greater than most can bear. I didn't prune you to punish you, I pruned you to prepare you for authority. Not a title, not applause, but true spiritual authority. Authority that doesn't crumble under criticism. Authority that doesn't lose itself in platform or praise. Authority that bleeds compassion because it's been through crushing. You're not walking into elevation empty, you're walking in pruned, pure, and proven. You will carry what others admire, not because it was handed to you, but because it was carved into you. Through obedience. Through surrender. Through saying yes when no one was watching and nothing made sense. And now, the growth will be visible. And now, the roots you didn't even know were going deeper will start to push upward with strength. But you won't be arrogant, you'll be anchored. You won't flaunt the crown, I've taught you how to wear it with grace. What you're stepping into is not reward for perfection, it's the result of refinement. This is the unveiling of a vessel that's been emptied and made ready to overflow. The fruit that comes will not only feed you, it will nourish others. The healing that has been quietly forming will begin to pour out as healing for those around you. Don't resist what's blossoming. Don't second-guess the restoration. You've been conditioned to brace for loss, but now I'm teaching you to receive. I'm showing you that the season of stripping wasn't the end, it was the sacred beginning. You were being set apart for something that doesn't just require gifts, it demands integrity, vision, tenderness, and courage. And you have all of that now. Because pruning doesn't just take away, it adds what cannot be manufactured. It shapes the soul. It strengthens the foundation. It proves what words cannot. And yes, child, there's a crown. Not one made of gold and ceremony, but one forged in fire and obedience. A crown of endurance. A crown of resilience. A crown of humility and spiritual weight. You won't need to announce it, the atmosphere around you will testify. What I've been shaping in silence will now be worn openly, not as a symbol of superiority, but as a sign that surrender wins. That those who yield to my process never lose. That those who trust me, even in the dark, will shine when it matters most. So don't fear the pruning. Don't regret what was removed. You didn't lose, you were refined. And now, it's time to rise. With clean hands, a soft heart, and a soul anchored in me, you're ready to carry what few are willing to endure the process for. I never punished you, I prepared you. And now the world is about to see what I always knew was growing. Keep walking, child. You've been crowned by the process. And what comes next will reveal just how worth it the pruning truly was. There's nothing accidental about where you are right now. You may feel like this moment came out of nowhere, that it snuck up on you while you were still trying to make sense of the last season, but I want you to know, this was written into your timeline long before you ever took your first breath. This hour is not a coincidence. It is not a leftover blessing. It is a scheduled unveiling of something uniquely designed for you. I have orchestrated this moment with precision, not to overwhelm you, but to awaken you to what I've placed inside you that no one else was meant to carry. There are revelations that can only be released to someone who has walked through what you have. Someone who didn't quit when quitting made more sense. Someone who didn't rush ahead when everything in them begged for escape. Someone who stayed, who endured, who allowed the breaking to become building. That someone is you. And because of that, there are things I've reserved, truths, assignments, impartations that I could only trust to a soul who has been through fire and still chooses me. You've been prepared not by applause but by pressure. Not by status but by stillness. I've developed something in you that isn't loud but is undeniable. A weight of glory that isn't designed to impress but to transform. You've been entrusted with more than just influence, you've been trusted with insight. You see things differently now. Your ears are tuned to nuance. Your discernment hath been sharpened not in classrooms, but in valleys. That's why this hour belongs to you. Because this level of revelation couldn't come through casual pursuit, it had to be cultivated in the furnace of persistence. And now, I'm revealing it not just to you, but through you. I'm handing you insight that will not only shift your life, but shift the atmosphere of those around you. This is why your timing is different from others. This is why it seemed like you were being delayed while others were being launched. Because what I'm giving you can't be rushed. It had to be timed with divine accuracy. The people who need your voice had to be ready to hear it. The doors that were sealed are now unlocking because the weight you carry is finally in alignment with the assignment that's calling. This isn't just your moment, it's a collision between heaven's timing and your obedience. This isn't a window, it's a portal. And what flows from this hour won't just be for your benefit, it will ripple across generations. That's how significant your yes hath been. You thought it was small, but I'm telling you now it's been echoing through eternity. Because what I'm entrusting to you now will build legacies, heal atmospheres, and release long-held promises that others couldn't carry forward. So don't treat this like any other season. Don't walk through this as if it's routine. Be alert. Be present. I'm speaking in layers now. I'm releasing strategy, not just comfort. I'm giving you revelation that will require response, not just reflection. I'm calling you deeper not for the sake of depth alone, but because what I need to show you can't be received on the surface. This is sacred territory, child. This is the hour where you walk with me in dimensions others are too distracted to perceive. And the reason you can hear me now is because you've made space I didn't have to compete for. You've turned down noise for my voice. You've chosen solitude over spectacle. You've prioritized my whisper over man's applause. And now, I'm entrusting you with revelation that comes with responsibility. This is not just insight, it's instruction. It's vision. It's blueprint. What I show you in this hour is not just for inspiration, it is for implementation. There are things I want to build through your hands, release through your mouth, and establish through your decisions. And I'm releasing them now because your heart is finally postured to steward, without distortion. Child, this is the divine moment you didn't know you were being prepared for all along. The moment when everything that once confused you begins to connect. A moment when what was hidden is now handed to you with authority. You're not here by chance. You're here by divine appointment. You didn't miss your moment, you became ready for it. And now, I will show you what only the secret place could unlock. Keep walking with me. What's being revealed now will carry you far beyond what you dreamed because it came not from ambition, but from alignment. Stay near. The revelation is just beginning. You kept wondering if I skipped over you. If your prayers landed on deaf ears. If your tears fell unnoticed into silence. You questioned why others were being chosen, seen, accelerated, while you sat in silence, obedient but overlooked. But I must tell you something urgently, something sacred. You were not abandoned, you were concealed. You were not dismissed, you were prepared. You weren't waiting because you weren't worthy. You were waiting because your timing had to be different. You were being hidden, not from opportunity, but from everything that would have tried to reduce the weight of what you carry. This was never punishment. It was preservation. When I hide someone, it's not because they are lacking. It's because they are carrying something so holy, so unique, that exposure too soon would rob the full glory of its release. I wasn't ignoring your potential, I was shielding it. There were things still forming inside you that needed the safety of obscurity. You may not have realized it, but while others were running into stages, you were running into stillness. And it was there I met you, not with applause, but with assignment. Not with spotlight, but with sacred strategy. In that hidden place, you learned to recognize my whisper before my wonders. You learned to cling to my voice when no one else echoed it back. You developed trust without timeline and hope without visible harvest. And that, child, is why you're ready now. Because this isn't about you having a platform. It's about you having a posture. It's about you being able to walk into the unveiling without needing to announce yourself. Because I'm doing the revealing. I'm doing the lifting. I'm the one who's placing your name in the hearts of those who need what you carry. Do not resent the hiding. Do not grieve the silence. What I protected you from in that season would have diluted the depth of what's about to flow through you. There were distractions I dismantled before they ever reached your door. There were assignments from the enemy that died in the dark because my covering was stronger than you knew. And now, as I open this curtain, as I bring you out into the light I always had waiting, you will not step out as someone desperate for validation. You will step out as someone filled with revelation. Because what you carry isn't for show. It's for shift. What you've been given is not for applause, it's for activation. You've been equipped in private to transform in public. That's why this unveiling is so precise. This is not your promotion, it's your positioning. I'm placing you where your words won't just be heard, they'll be heeded. Where your presence won't just be noticed, it will carry divine permission. And it's happening now, not because the world is finally ready, but because you finally are. And child, I never missed you. I was holding you back for this moment because this is when your oil is needed most. The people you'll impact now are not looking for perfection. They are looking for someone who stayed in the fire and didn't burn out. Someone who knows how to pray when nothing moves. Someone who understands what it feels like to walk in the dark but keep the lamp lit. That's what you've become. A carrier of something unshakable. A testimony of timing. A vessel that proves I still prepare in silence and reveal in power. So do not shrink back as I unveil you. Do not apologize for the weight you now carry. This is not pride, it is purpose. This is not self-promotion, it is divine appointment. I'm the one who makes room for the gifts I planted. I'm the one who causes what was hidden to rise. And I'm the one who's now opening doors that cannot be shut, not because you forced them, but because I formed them for such a time as this. You didn't miss your moment. You became the moment. You didn't get left behind. You were reserved for greater release. And now, child, step forward not with fear, but with faith. I was with you in the hiding, and I'm with you now in the unveiling. Walk with boldness. What I placed inside you is ready to be seen, not for your glory, but for mine. This is the unveiling, and you are the vessel I've chosen to carry it. Beloved, hear me now. What you thought slipped away was never meant to arrive until the version of you standing here now was ready to hold it. You assume that because the door didn't open on your first knock, it must have been locked forever. But I tell you with all the urgency of heaven, you didn't miss your moment. I was reshaping the moment to match the depth of what I built inside you. You weren't denied. You were developing. The delay wasn't rejection, it was preparation. You see, I could have given it to the former version of you, the one who prayed anxiously, who worried constantly, who questioned my pace and mistrusted your own anointing. But that version wouldn't have lasted in what I'm about to pour. That version of you would have cracked under the weight of blessing that carries responsibility. I wasn't being cruel. I was being careful. Because I don't give fragile vessels overflow. I forge vessels that can carry without leaking. You weren't forgotten, child. You were being fortified. Every pause in your journey wasn't punishment. It was precision. I didn't delay things to frustrate you. I delayed things so what I place in your hands doesn't get cropped by rushed timing. There were still fears I had to dissolve. Still habits I had to break. Still people I had to separate from you, because where I'm sending you, they couldn't go. And still faith I had to strengthen, not so you could believe when it looked possible, but so you could believe when it looked impossible. Because the breakthrough that's coming will require the kind of trust that only grows in the wait. And now, I look at you, more grounded, more surrendered, more yielded to my rhythm than ever before, and I say, now, this is the time. This is the alignment I waited for. Not the external stars aligning, but the internal anchoring aligning with my spirit. Now your prayers don't just come from need, they come from knowing. Now your hope doesn't just exist when results show, it breathes even when the room is still. That is the version I was waiting for. Not polished, Not perfect, but positioned. So lift your head. The opportunity that seemed long gone is still living, still moving toward you, and now it won't find the anxious soul it once saw. It will find the anointed one I've refined in silence. Don't grieve over what passed. Don't mourn what I made wait, because I'm the one who commands time, and time obeys me. What looked like it was running late was actually waiting on you to catch up to who I called you to be. You didn't miss it. I timed it. What's coming next isn't just restoration. It's realignment. It's the redemption of years you thought were wasted. It's the release of dreams that once seemed out of reach. And this time, you won't question whether it's for you. You'll walk into it with calm confidence, because the wilderness built that walk. The fire built that focus. The silence shaped that strength. You didn't skip the process. You stayed. And now, everything is about to shift. I know you feared it would pass you by. But I never allow destiny to outrun my children. I hold it back until their spirit catches up to my design. That's what I did with you. That's what you're feeling now. Not a return of the old, but the arrival of the appointed. The weight will feel different. The way will be different. Because you are different. So walk through the opening with your eyes fixed on me. Don't compare your timeline. Don't revisit your regrets. Just step. I've been walking ahead of you, removing traps and rewriting details so that when you arrive, everything already knows your name. And this time, when the door opens, it won't slam shut. It will stay wide, because it's been sealed with obedience, not obsession. With trust, not timelines. You are ready. And it's ready for you. This isn't just a new chapter. This is the reason for every previous one. A delay was your making. And now, you are ready for the release. Let's walk. There's something I need you to understand with urgency. My beloved, you were never overlooked. You were hidden. There's a vast difference between being forgotten and being divinely concealed. When the world didn't see you, it wasn't because I turned away. It was because I covered you. When opportunities passed by, when names were called and yours wasn't among them, when rooms opened and you remained outside, I was not absent. I was actively protecting the unveiling I had ordained for you. You see, exposure without preparation is dangerous. You were never meant to be revealed before your foundation was reinforced. You weren't behind schedule. You were being built in secret. I crafted strength in your quiet places. I infused clarity where confusion had once reigned. I whispered destiny while the noise of insignificance tried to drown you out. And while others ran ahead, I was anchoring you. Not to slow you, but to ensure you wouldn't collapse the moment the light hit you. Many times, you asked me why no one noticed. Why your efforts weren't recognized. Why your calling didn't open immediate doors. But now you must see, it wasn't delay, it was divine discretion. Because what I've placed inside you isn't ordinary. It's not built to blend in or follow the crowd. It's meant to be released when timing matches purpose. I couldn't allow you to be seen by those who would mislabel you, misuse you, or mishandle you. So I hid you, not to deny your voice, but to preserve your value. Think about it. A seed grows underground. Its strength is built where no one can see. Its roots stretch out, searching deep before it ever breaks through the surface. If the seed is dug up too early, its growth is stunted. But if it's allowed to remain hidden, it emerges unshakable. That was you. Buried in prayer, rooted in seasons of unseen faith, pressed into the soil of surrender. And now, you're about to emerge, not half-formed, but fully forged by fire and silence. And when I unveil you, it won't be subtle. It will be quiet. It will be a divine announcement that echoes in the realm of the Spirit. Those who never saw you coming will stand in awe. Not because you forced your way forward, but because you allowed me to shape you when no one was watching. The platform I'm preparing isn't for popularity. It's for purpose. It's not for applause. It's for assignment. and the world needs who you've become in the dark. There are connections waiting that only recognize you once I lift the veil. There are doors timed to swing open the moment your steps align with heaven's calendar. There are territories that remained unclaimed because I had marked them with your name, and no one else could carry what you carry. So don't despise the hiding place. It was never punishment, it was preparation. I did not forget you. I was guarding you until the exact moment you were ready to be received in the right way. Now, my child, you're standing at the edge of visibility, and I'm about to shine through you. Not for spectacle, but for surrender. However fulfillment. You'll be seen but not shaken. Heard but not harmed. Celebrated but still consecrated. Because your unveiling is coming with my hand on it. Not a spotlight, but a seal. Not exposure to impress, but emergence to impact. So take a breath. The silence is about to break. The doors are about to open. The whispers will become declarations. What I've been doing in private will echo publicly. And when people ask where you came from, you'll smile and point to me. Because you didn't force this. You were faithful for this. And I'm the one who watched you weep and still believe. Who saw you sow without praise. Who heard your yes when no one else did. You're not forgotten. You're chosen. And now, you're about to be revealed. There were days you sat in silence, wondering if your prayers were echoing into nothingness. Hours you stared at ceilings and timelines, wondering why things still looked the same when your faith had changed. You looked around and concluded wrongly that I was still, that I was silent, that perhaps I had forgotten or delayed or denied. But today I need you to hear me with clarity that breaks through every lie. Just because you didn't see it didn't mean I wasn't moving. Heaven is not constrained by human sight. While your eyes scanned the physical, I was rearranging the spiritual. While your heart battled delay, I was pushing back resistance. While your hands trembled in the waiting, I was commanding angelic forces to fight on your behalf. I was removing blockages. I was pulling you out of misaligned circles. I was closing doors you were too loyal to walk away from, and routing you from traps you didn't even know you were walking into. I know it didn't look like deliverance when the relationship ended. I know you didn't feel rescued when the opportunity dried up. But there were mountains in the unseen realm that would have crushed your calling had I allowed them to remain. I wasn't denying you. I was defending you. Because some of the battles I won for you will never make headlines. Some of the miracles I did for you will never show up in photos. They happened in dimensions beyond what your eyes can scan, but your spirit felt them. A sudden peace. That was me. That unexplainable protection. That was me. That closed door that later made perfect sense. That was me too. You asked for the impossible, but you expected it to arrive in the visible. You didn't realize I was already working while you were still weeping. I don't need noise to move. I don't need permission to act. I don't need to explain my strategy to justify my silence. I am not still, I am sovereign. And when I move, I do it with eternal precision. You thought I wasn't doing anything because the ground beneath you didn't quake. But I was shifting the foundations under entire seasons, generations, and legacies, so when you arrive, nothing will collapse. You questioned the timeline, but I was writing history. You wondered if you had missed it, but I was orchestrating a greater version you didn't yet have the vocabulary to pray for. You saw delay. I saw divine layering. You saw pause. I saw protection. You saw suck. I saw strategic. Because what I build in your life isn't rushed. It's reinforced. It's not quick. It's qualified. And everything I'm allowing or withholding has eternal weight tied to it. Let me be clear. I am not slow. I'm strategic. I'm not late. I'm layering glory upon glory, victory upon victory. So when the door opens, you won't just walk into your next chapter. You'll stand on top of what once tried to bury you. Every mountain I moved in silence will become your testimony in public. And the same mouths that said, "Where is your God now?" will soon whisper, Only God could have done that. You thought nothing was shifting. But in reality, every yes you gave me was creating tremors in the kingdom of darkness. Every tear you cried was watering the harvest that is now ripe. Every step you took in obedience was shaking loose the chains you didn't even know you had inherited. I was dismantling strongholds, reversing curses, and routing attacks before they ever touched your skin. You didn't see the arrows I caught midair. You didn't hear the lies I silenced before they were spoken. But heaven documented it all. So don't misinterpret stillness as absence. Don't confuse quietness with inactivity. I am a master of the unseen. And I'm telling you this. You are about to walk into a room that fear tried to lock, but I already unlocked it. You're about to hold what was once impossible, because I've been working behind the curtain, turning impossibility into fulfillment. You won't have to fight for the spotlight. You'll only have to testify to the shadows I cleared while you rested. I was always moving, always aligning, always preparing the way. You were never waiting in vain, you were being positioned in purpose. And now, what you couldn't see will suddenly appear, not because you forced it, but because I finished it. At ready, the mountain is gone. The path is clear. Walk forward, it's time. You didn't understand it then, but I saw what your heart couldn't recognize, that the thing you kept reaching for was the very thing draining the breath from your destiny. You believed it was comfort, but I knew it was a slow collapse hidden in disguise. You called it familiar, but I called it fatal. And because I love you, I had to break what was breaking you, even when you cried over the wreckage. It hurt you when it left. It hurt you when I said no. It tore through your assumptions when I closed the door you had prayed would open. But I was not punishing you. I was preserving what was left of you. I was saving the pieces of your calling that still had breath in them. Because I saw you slowly silencing your own voice to make room for what could never carry your identity. I watched you pour your hope into cracked vessels and lose yourself trying to patch what was never meant to be repaired, only released. I saw you holding onto the thing that was once a blessing but had now become a bondage. I heard the way you prayed to keep what was choking the light out of your future. But I couldn't let you stay in a cycle where love cost you your peace and loyalty demanded your silence. So I bolted away, not to punish you but to protect the part of you that was still willing to trust me. You didn't see it, but I was placing my hand between you and the damage you didn't even recognize yet. You thought I took your support system, but I removed the source of your soul's exhaustion. You thought I dismantled your dream, but I rescued it from being permanently trapped in someone else's broken timing. You thought I tore apart your community, but I redefined what safety truly means. I saw the way you excused what you shouldn't have tolerated. I heard the apologies you whispered to keep peace with chaos. But I am the God who sees behind the curtains. I know the whispers, the control, the manipulation, the slow stealing of your joy, and I won't allow my child to be handled like that. So yes, I removed them. I ended the chapter. I closed the loop. I walked you out of the fire you were pretending wasn't burning you. And I know you didn't thank me then. How could you? You were still learning how to breathe without their approval. Still learning how to walk without clinging to what was once your anchor. But what you thought was abandonment was actually my intervention. I didn't remove something from you. I removed something that was about to ruin you. Because healing sometimes starts with subtraction. Freedom often begins with a forced goodbye. And I will not allow your future to be held hostage by anything that threatens your identity and me. So even if you grieved it like it was a loss, one day you'll look back and see it was a rescue in disguise. You'll say, "Thank you, Lord, for loving me enough to not let me settle." You'll say, "That ending with the beginning of me." And you'll mean it, because you'll realize I gave you the space to finally see yourself the way I've always seen you, worthy of wholeness, worthy of peace, worthy of something that doesn't require pain to feel like love. So don't mourn what I've removed. Don't chase what I had to extract. I only take what blocks the blessing. I only close doors to what refuses to honor your soul. and I only end what was never written in the final chapter of your story. What's ahead will not require you to shrink, compromise, beg, or break. What's coming will feel like home to your spirit, not just your survival instincts. Let go now, not just with your hands but with your heart. Release the version of you that needed that thing to feel complete. You don't need it anymore. What's ahead is clean. What's next is healing. And what I'm building doesn't require pain as the price of belonging. This time, you'll know it's me, because this time, it won't hurt to be held. You kept wondering why I let them leave, why I allowed their silence to echo in the rooms they once filled with promises. You stared at the emptiness they left behind, trying to find fault in yourself, trying to trace the moment when the love turned cold. But I need you to hear me clearly. Their departure was not your failure. It was my preparation. They didn't leave because you weren't enough. They left because your next chapter needed a level of freedom they would never allow. And I had to make room for what's coming, even if it broke your heart to watch what once felt permanent become part of your past. You see, they were occupying the space I designed for something sacred, for something they couldn't carry. Their presence had become a ceiling to your growth, a limit to your faith, a filter on your joy. You loved them with honesty, but they didn't know how to steward your tenderness. You showed them your true self, but they only ever saw the version of you they could control. And so, I intervened. I watched as your prayers for peace clashed against their chaos, and I knew the only way forward was through their exit. What you call abandonment, I call alignment. What you saw as betrayal, I saw as a blessing in disguise. Because if they had stayed, you would have kept shrinking to keep them comfortable. You would have kept softening your voice, minimizing your dreams, doubting your discernment, all to avoid rocking a boat that was never headed in your direction. They were not your destination. They were a delay. And I love you too much to let you camp in places I've called you to outgrow. So I let them go, quietly, painfully, but purposefully. And I saw every tear you didn't tell anyone about. I heard the conversations you rehearsed in your head, the apologies you never got, the closure that never came. I sat with you in the silence they left behind, and I never stopped speaking life over your aching soul. Because while they walked away, I was walking you into a new season where you'll finally learn to breathe again without needing to prove your worth to anyone who couldn't recognize it. You see, sometimes I have to remove people you thought were permanent because they were never meant to survive the shift. They loved the version of you that was convenient for them, not the anointed version that's rising now. And what's coming in your life requires relationships that stretch with you, not suffocate you. What's next is too sacred to share with people who only showed up when it benefited them. I am clearing the path, not because you're losing, but because I'm preparing the stage for something far more holy. So don't try to chase what I've already called finish. Don't mourn the chapter I've already closed. Trust that if I allowed them to leave, it's because I'm sending someone, or something, better. Something that won't require your compromise. Someone who won't misunderstand your calling. A season that won't ask you to apologize for your growth. I'm making room for destiny to breathe. And that means removing what was taking up the oxygen. This next move in your life is not small. It's not a repeat. It's not a recovery. It's a rebirth. And I needed you empty so I could fill you with something that aligns with your future, not your fears. You've cried enough over what walked away. Now it's time to raise your eyes to what's walking in. You've questioned your worth long enough. Now it's time to see yourself through my eyes, a chosen, cherished, called, and carefully positioned. Let them go, beloved. Let them stay gone. What you lost wasn't a loss. It was a releasing of what was keeping you from rising. And as painful as it felt, you'll look back and see this season as the one where everything changed. Not because they left, but because you finally realized their absence was the beginning of your freedom. What's ahead is holy. What's next is yours. And there's no one missing from your life who was meant to walk into what I've prepared. Let the empty space remain empty. I'm about to fill it with glory. You thought it was designed to destroy you, that the crushing weight of what happened was going to be the end of your joy, the collapse of your peace, the silencing of your voice. But I want you to see it from my side. I didn't let that pain enter your life to ruin you. I allowed it to reveal you. Not the weak version the world expected, not the tired identity others tried to place on you, but the resilient, bold, awakened one I always knew was in you, waiting for the fire to wake it up. You weren't being punished. You were being provoked into truth, into power, into surrender. That situation wasn't the end of you. It was the beginning of everything I've been trying to build in you. You needed the pressure to rise. You needed the shaking to break your attachment to what could carry you forward. You needed the storm so you could hear me clearly, so you would stop placing your faith in the familiar and finally trust the voice that was calling you deeper. And yes, it was hard. Yes, you felt like you were losing pieces of yourself. But child, those weren't losses. They were layers being peeled away so your real identity could breathe. You prayed for a fresh start, but you didn't realize that sometimes it requires a disruption. You asked me for growth, but didn't know that it comes through pruning. You wanted newness, but didn't expect it to be born out of brokenness. I wasn't dismantling your life. I was awakening the parts of you that had been buried beneath survival, distraction, and fear. The pain didn't disqualify you. It qualified you. It didn't signal the end. It signaled a new beginning. Because only someone who has stood in the fire can carry the kind of authority you're about to walk in. Only someone who has tasted sorrow can truly steward compassion. Only someone who's been empty can be filled the way I want to fill you. And now that your heart has been shattered in my presence, I can shape it without resistance. I let that moment press against every weakness, not to embarrass you, but to expose what was never meant to remain hidden. You didn't fall apart because you were fragile. You were falling into alignment. You weren't being abandoned. You were being refined. I know you asked me to stop the pain, but instead I stood beside you in it, because I knew you'd rise from it different. Not bitter, but deeper. Not jaded, but wiser. Not hard, but holy. You've looked at your scars with shame for too long, but I called them sacred. They tell the story of a battle you didn't think you'd survive, and yet here you are, breathing in the aftermath, still chosen, still mine, still being held together by a love that never backed away. I didn't walk out when it got messy. I didn't turn silent when you got angry. I leaned in closer, even when you questioned me. And now, I want you to lean in too, because what's ahead is too great to carry old grief into it. This awakening isn't temporary. It's not a flicker. It's a holy ignition. You've been awakened to purpose, awakened to value, awakened to what matters. The things that used to distract you no longer hold your focus. The people who used to validate you no longer define you. You've seen too much to pretend now. You've endured too much to minimize your voice. You've grown too deep to fit back into the shallow places you once called home. And I am proud of you, not because you never stumbled, but because you didn't stop when you fell. Not because you never doubted, but because you kept coming back, even with trembling hands and tear-filled prayers. You gave me your ashes, and I am giving you beauty. You handed me your confusion, and I'm handing you clarity. You brought me your broken yes, and I'm building a future with it. So when you look back at what you thought would break you, I want you to smile. Because now you know that storm didn't bury you. It birthed you. It didn't silence you. It summoned you. It didn't end your story. It introduced a version of you that hell can't intimidate and the past can't reclaim. You've been awakened, and you will never be the same again. While you stood on the outside wondering why nothing was shifting, I was on the inside strengthening the frame of the very door you've been praying for. You thought the silence meant denial, but in my realm, delay isn't disinterest. It's construction. I wasn't ignoring your cry. I was insulating the threshold of what's coming so it could carry not just your breakthrough, but everything connected to it. You weren't waiting in vain. You were waiting while the foundation was fortified. Because this isn't just any opportunity. This isn't just a random moment. This is the door I have carved out specifically for the weight your calling carries. This is a doorway that has to sustain the glory I'm about to pour over your life. And if I had opened it earlier, before it was reinforced, it would have crumbled under the pressure of premature access. You don't need a fast door. You need a strong one. One that doesn't just open. One that holds. You've wondered why others were moving ahead, getting noticed, receiving invitations while you remained hidden. But you weren't overlooked. You were being preserved. You weren't being skipped. You were being safeguarded. I had to make sure your character could carry your crown. I had to ensure that your obedience outweighed your desire for applause. I had to protect you from walking into something that would elevate you before it grounded you. And so while you felt still, I was moving. While you felt paused, I was aligning. While you questioned my pace, I was pacing things with precision. You weren't stuck, you were stationed. You weren't forgotten, you were being formed. And now, the hinges of this door are groaning with readiness. The lock is turning. The frame is glowing. Because what I built in secret is about to become visible. But this door won't just be an answer. It will be an unveiling. The version of you that has been hidden in pain, forged in wilderness, refined in surrender, that's the one who's going to walk through. This isn't a door for the old you. This isn't a door for the version who depended on performance or approval. This is a door for the one who's learned to worship even when it didn't make sense, who chose to stand even when knees were trembling, who trusted me when the path disappeared. This door will not creak open shyly. It will swing wide with the weight of my authority behind it. And when it opens, it won't just change your surroundings. It will change the atmosphere. It will shift your access. It will expose what had to be concealed until now. Because this is not just for visibility, it's for impact. You won't just be seen, you will be sent. You won't just be welcomed in, you'll be commissioned out. I have given you keys of resilience, of worship, of discernment. And now, they are unlocking rooms you didn't even know were in your future. Connections are being made not because you campaigned, but because you remained. Resources are being released not because you chased them, but because you chased me. The door is opening not because you forced it, but because you trusted the timing of the one who holds it. And here's what you need to understand. What's behind this door was worth every tear you've cried in the hallway. It was worth every not yet that you thought was rejection. It was worth every prayer you thought went unheard. Because I don't open doors that collapse. I open ones that carry legacy, shift generations, and make the enemy regret ever trying to stop you. So when it swings open, don't hesitate. Don't minimize. Don't question whether you're ready. You are ready because I say you are. And I don't send people unprepared. You've been prepared in the silence, strengthened in the sorrow, anointed in the shadows. And now, as this door groans with destiny, know this. It was never a delay. It was reinforcement. And it's finally time to walk through. The wait was worth it. You kept asking me, when will I finally become what you've called me to be? But child, you didn't realize you already were. You didn't need to be made. You needed to be real. A waiting season didn't build your identity. It uncovered it. What I'm about to do now is not to reward your effort, but to confirm your identity. This next move isn't compensation, it's manifestation. You are not stepping into something new. You are stepping into something true. I've watched you search for confirmation in rooms that didn't even have the light to recognize your radiance. You sat in spaces hoping someone would validate what I already planted deep within you. But the truth is, their silence wasn't rejection, it was protection. Because if they had affirmed you too soon, you might have clung to their opinion rather than my voice. And I've always been more committed to your truth than your comfort. You thought you were becoming, but you were always carrying it. The fire didn't form you, it refined you. The wilderness didn't define you, It revealed who you refused to stop being. I didn't use the delay to grow you. I used it to clear out everything that said you were less than what I made you to be. This isn't the start of your identity. It's the unveiling of your alignment. That's why it felt heavy. Because you were walking in an identity you didn't know was already yours. That's why you felt unseen. Because what I placed in you couldn't be measured by the shallow metrics of applause or acceptance. I designed you for something deeper, something weightier, something eternal. And the only way to bring it forth was to separate you from everything that didn't match it. So I let you feel forgotten, not to break you, but to break the need for validation from those who didn't carry your blueprint. I let the phone stay silent, not because you weren't ready, but because I needed you to realize that their call was never your confirmation. I let you walk through rooms where your brilliance was overlooked, so you could learn that your worth wasn't tied to recognition, it was rooted in revelation. And now, you're not just stepping into a room, you're stepping into realization. You're not walking into a platform, you're walking into a prophecy. Everything that's been hidden is about to be announced. Not because you shouted, but because you stayed. Not because you forced doors open, but because you let me be the one who revealed you in due time. You didn't promote yourself. You prepared yourself. This moment is not about becoming something new. It's about the world finally seeing what I've always known about you. You're not entering a new identity. You're finally shedding what never belonged to you. The doubt, the hesitation, the false labels, the fear of being too much or not enough. Those were never yours. I've waited for this hour, because now, you know who you are, and that's why I can now show them. I've hidden you in the fire, cloaked you in stillness, covered you in intercession, all so that when I finally pull back the veil, no one will be able to deny what I've done. You won't just walk in confidence, you'll walk in confirmation. Not from men, but from heaven itself. The unveiling isn't to make them clap for you. It's to make them see me in you. So don't shrink now. Don't second guess. Don't play small just to stay comfortable. What I'm revealing through you is not for your ego. It's for my glory. I'm not raising you to be seen. I'm raising you to be light. I'm not elevating you for attention. I'm elevating you for impact. They will see you, yes. But what they'll really encounter is the imprint of my hand, the sound of my promise, the echo of my presence all over you. Get ready. This isn't a promotion. This is a prophetic unveiling. The earth is groaning for the sons and daughters of glory to be revealed, and your name has been called. Not because you finally proved yourself, but because you finally believed me when I said you were mine. Now rise, walk in it, live it, speak it, carry it. Amen.